Why am I always late, chat? Like everywhere I go, especially lately, I've missed 2 podcast appointments. I've been late everywhere. But anyway, welcome to the Dynasty Grind. My name's Peter Howard, at PA Howdy on Twitter. My camera seems to have changed angle. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I was just backstage and got into a conversation with Zach Reed about a deep wide receiver prospect he's interested in. So I now know all the secrets. And you're not allowed to know them unless you happen to ask him. You can ask any questions you have about Dynasty or fantasy football in general and whatever comment box and whatever streaming platform you happen to be watching on. I mean, there's probably only 2 we're on, but I'm going to say all to make it sound like we're everywhere and really important, you know? We talk about Dynasty for about 3 hours every Wednesday night from 9:30 onwards. Probably not going to make it 3 hours tonight because we've got a late party and we've got a slightly ill party, and I'm tired, to be honest with you, but we will try and answer all your questions or respond to any comments that you happen to have. We're not here to teach. We're here to just have fun talking about Dynasty all day. Well, not a day. Every day, on season, off season, in season, out season. And yeah, we're excited to talk to you. So thanks very much for checking us out. And let's go do that. Look at my timing. Just impeccable. Zach, I recorded 2 videos over the last 2 days thinking I'll just do the editing later. I'll do it in volume, you know, only to find out that my audio was probably set to my camera mic. And so, yeah, that's completely useless.
Oh, no.
That's some problems I've had recently.
So what I need you to do, Peter, is go back and like overdub just the sound, just so it'll be like watching old kung fu movies. It'll be like yards per team pass attempt.
Basically, what I'm saying here.
I think that would be great.
I would so do it in commentary fashion. It wouldn't be like a dub. It would be like me commenting on the video.
Like Mystery Science Theater.
At this point, I was starting to feel a little stressed because I couldn't remember the right number.
That would be awesome.
Which is actually 3.5. I can see that now after the fact.
You just like you got to videotape yourself from the back, like you're sitting down watching the screen. Do the Mystery Science Theater and just go.
I don't have a second camera, but right. Yeah, Russ Fisher will be with us to talk trades. Like, we don't do that. No, we do. Soon, we hope, but he's going to be late, he says, because, you know, we're the least important people in his life. Hey, I'm just quoting, and I think that's a fair comment. So, how's everyone doing? Zach Harris in the chat at 7:30. Appreciate you, Zach. Looking forward to the show. Would you sell the 102 for the 107 and a random 24 first? I think for me personally, in the top 4, just a random first isn't enough. At least I'm going to wait till the draft and see who I think I'm going to get. And if I'm not going to get the person I like, which I probably am at the 102, then yeah, sure, that trade, maybe I might trade out for that, but there's no pressure to take that, and that's not tempting enough to really make it, you know.
See, I don't think that there's any way I would do that, because the 102 in a Superflex is going to be either Bijan Robinson or the best quarterback, probably the best quarterback. So
you're gonna have to get a year of finding out who they are, and they probably hold that value anyway.
Yeah, and so no, and if it's a 1 quarterback league, then you're trading out of the 102, where you can take either the best receiver or Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm not doing that for the 107 and a random first.
I would say if it is a super flex, it's a kind of move I might make if I'm not sold on these quarterbacks, because you can make your own assessment. I don't want to trade back into where I think the wide receiver that I like will go, but in general, on rookie drafts, I'm more looking to go up than trade back. And you're already in the tier. Like, you can get anyone you like. If you can't get a better trade back, then you can just take who you want there. I'm actually a fan of doing that. You didn't follow ADP. Yeah, but no one will give me a good trade. Next time they'll know. But that's not optimal. But yeah, I don't think it's enough to tempt me right now. Would you buy Javonte Williams for the 112? Yes. Yeah, the 112 is, I think that's a pretty decent trade. In a 12-team Dynasty Superflex, half-point PPR. Yeah, be aware you've got burst potential, but you got burst potential with the 112. And there's a lot of good running backs in this class. I don't think there's anyone that's super, super superior. As long as he gets back healthy, we know a little bit more about him. And I expect him to come back. Never underrate modern medicine, as Adam Harstad says. So yeah, I think that's a really good trade.
I feel like I just read too that he's actually starting to get back to like rehabbing, and so he's not as far. Yeah, he's not. So the Broncos have come out and said that they anticipate that he will be ready for the beginning of the season. Now, I don't know that will be the case, but you're gonna start seeing those fun workout videos like we always talk about, and so
there's a value jump at that point.
Yeah, especially from the 112.
Hopefully in your league, maybe not, but it's worth trying. Yeah.
Did you not get Richard Davis? Can you not see Richard Davis's stuff? He came in at 634, Peter.
Oh no, I can't. I don't see any of that.
Oh, so I gotta.
Do you want to
trade Trey McBride for Zeke in a 1.75 tight end premium start 12 Superflex 10 teams? The only running back Richard has is Gibson. He's got the 102, 103, and 106. So is thinking of grabbing Gibbs at 102, 103, assuming the draft capital, assuming he gets, assuming Gibbs gets the draft capital. The second part of this is his other tight end is Pitts, and the team is ready to compete, barring running backs. He's got Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Waddle, DK, DJ Moore. He's got our receivers. Burks. Is giving up Trey McBride for Ezekiel Elliott worth it? And if not, how do I solve my running back problem?
Well, you don't have to solve it ever, and you definitely don't have to solve it now. But my answer is in Dynasty, I lean value almost in all situations, even if you think, and you probably are competing heavily next year. I just want Trey McBride there, even if he turns out to be nothing. I think that was a better way to go because we're playing Dynasty. And, there's as much risk with Zeke not turning out to be much next year as Trey McBride, but at least he's going to be young, tight end. They have a longer arc. How do you solve your running back position? You just keep looking for better trades than this. But again, my mentality wouldn't be, how do I solve this right now? It would be just continue to look for ways to do it. And in this class, there's plenty of running backs you're going to grab in the second and third round that have equally that type of potential. So you can look for trades that aren't directly for running backs as well. I can't think of anything else. It seems like I'm missing something. What you got, Zach?
No, I like that. I do think that, I would not trade McBride for Ezekiel Elliott, even though Ezekiel Elliott will be fine. McBride is one of those tight ends that you expect to be decent. Like you expect him to ascend. He had a good rookie profile, was okay in stints with Arizona last year. But what I would be doing, Richard, is I would be looking at either, because you don't necessarily need a quarterback, seeing if somebody will pay up for the 103 after you select Jahmyr Gibbs. And if they will pay up for the 103 and you can get multiple picks in, so like a first and a couple of seconds, or like a late first, a future first and a couple of seconds to go up and have them get that quarterback, all of a sudden you can take 3 or 4 stabs at running backs in this class, and there are a bunch that should give you some value at some point during the season. And so you may be able to aggregate a running back in this class, whether you can get like a Zach Charbonnet, or whether you can get a Roschon Johnson or Sean Tucker, Kendry Miller, Tank Bigsby. Like there are a bunch of backs in this class who should provide some value at points during the season. And the cool thing about running backs, and we talk about this all the time, is if you have a bunch of running backs on your bench, I mean, obviously not, you don't 100% know, but you basically know when they're going to be able to get a start and have potential to get that volume. So you essentially know when they have potential to score, as opposed to wide receivers where you're kind of hoping. So.
And yeah, Rob, I see you comment on Twitter as well. We were sent a topic for conversation this week, which was unique, but I actually thought it was a fairly interesting topic, which was QB value in general in Superflex leagues, especially when you have players that are somewhat middling or disappointing, like Kenny Pickett. But I'm going to kind of wait till Russ is here because I would like to offer his thoughts as well. So we'll just keep talking with whatever we're running with right now until maybe Russ gets here. And if he doesn't get here, like we'll just spin something out. But we're happy to talk about that. Randy, of the rookies you've seen so far, who surprised you in a good way? And who surprised you in a bad way? I mean, that's a fair question, but I don't know. I have a great list for you. I can't pull it up. It will crash my computer. I tell you what, I've been increasingly impressed with Jordan Addison. I mean, there's no need at this point. Like, I have him ranked fairly high. I mean, the loudest voices right now are those arguing against the consensus, because being contrarian now just means saying the opposite of what everyone who does the work says, apparently. But like, I increasingly find just little nuances where I'm like, wow, he did that in that situation, and wow, he really just maintained that with increased volume. And like, there's all the little red flags I would look for. And like I say, he could be a bust. He's my wide receiver 2 in the class, but I just keep being more. I like the little nuances that I usually try and use to look for red flags or orange flags or cautions. And he doesn't not have them. He has the opposite. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, man, for a class where the value at wide receiver is apparently now falling. According to my little Twitter bubble. So Jordan Addison is probably the one that I increasingly get surprised by. I've moved on to running back since. I was surprised in a negative way, a little bit, by Gibbs, because I started digging into running back recently. And these are high-level names. They're probably not the depth of the players you're thinking about or wondering about. But I knew nothing about him. Don't watch college. Knew his numbers jumped off the page for his per-game rates and overall. And his receiving off the chart. He's getting helped out a lot by the fact he's playing on Alabama, who just constantly, those players get drafted. So we have expectation of draft capital, because my model will use that until we have the NFL draft. And it's not a negative. There are comparables, but he was like 35% of the overall rushing backfield if you look at rushing yards or rushing attempts. And that's a certain type of running back typically. Again, he's got the receiving, and there are Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. There are plenty of players who are bell cows, certainly of a certain type, with that receiving especially. But I was a little like, I was expecting a workhorse, and that's a little negative. It means you have to start thinking about the context of the offense a lot more. Was he playing with Najee Harris and Damian Harris and Jalen Hurts, and that's what happened to Mixon? That could explain it, or is this a team and scheme fit? Either way, his receiving is phenomenal. So, he's still my running back too. But I was a little negatively surprised by his overall workload, put it that way.
That's fair.
I buy that negative, but
it's funny because that kind of tracks along with my evaluation of him, which I think people are going to be disappointed by the rushing workload that he gets at the next level. I feel like he's going to be a little bit like DeAndre Swift in the community. The community is always going to be higher because they're dreaming on, what if he got 200 carries and 60 receptions?
Right.
You're going to have to be happy with the 60 receptions and
it's like the same logic. And again, just to back you up here, Kenneth Walker, like receiving truthers do it too, because it's the same argument. What if you also had rushing attempts? And it's like, I mean, you kind of apply the logic differently. The NFL is probably using them how they want to use them. But there aren't shifts and changes every now and again.
Yeah, well, it's the old, when a guy shows you who he is, believe him the first time, and I think that's true with like rookie evaluation and projections, because there aren't a lot of players who grow in the NFL. I mean, there are some, and that's the old late breakout and that sort of thing. Like, there are some who grow, but by and large,
there's always a possibility of the future. We're going to see new things. That's what's interesting. There's always it hasn't happened, but it will. And sure. But we're just creating an expectation, a likely expectation. That's all we can do.
But for me, Randy, I've got a couple for negatives, and this is on the wide receiver side of things. Both wide receivers from Tennessee, so both Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, I have lower than I've seen them go in a lot of places. I think DLF currently has Tillman in the top 10 or 12. I don't know that he'll be there for me, and a lot of people like Hyatt should get first round draft capital in the NFL.
Oh yeah,
and he's if you highlight scout, if you watch what he does, and he does one thing incredibly well, and that is run very fast by everybody. And if you watch that, like, he looks amazing, but I think it's going to be a lot better for an NFL team than what it will be for your fantasy team. And then two guys who I think that are actually what the community hopes that Tillman and Hyatt are. Marvin Mims is what everybody wants Jalen Hyatt to be, but he actually can do the little things, the create separation on screen passes and uses his speed that way. He can still take the top off the defense. He's still got exceptional speed. And then and Peter, you and I were just talking about him before the show. I was incredibly surprised by Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. And again, JUCO guys, so he went 2 years at JUCO, 3 years at Iowa State, and I was not expecting to like him. And I'm just watching him continually separate, and his transition from the catch point to a runner is one of the quickest in this class, which means that every time he catches the ball, he's adding 3, 4, 5 yards just because he's ready to catch it and turn and go before the defense is ready to tackle him. And again, this is not to say that Hutchinson is going to be in my top 5 receivers. He won't be, right. But he was somebody that I wasn't even necessarily on my radar, and I was really surprised watching him. And for running backs, Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson is in my top 4. And if you look at statistically, you're not going to be impressed with him because he was behind Bijan.
Could be, to be fair.
Well, okay.
He's just got what I call a sample problem.
Yeah. Well, he's behind Bijan Robinson.
But his elusiveness rating, his yards after contact per attempt, those are actually great. It's just you're doing it on like 8-9 touches, and that's a little different. But like you can see statistically, he's performing well with his touches. He's
the running back that I was really surprised with, and I probably will end up with him everywhere because I'll take him at the end of the first round, and most people are not even thinking about him. Well, like I said, to me it is Bijan Robinson, tier break, Gibbs, tier break, Charbonnet, and Roschon Johnson in that third tier, and I'll be happy getting either of them. And again,
this is a difficult one to rank for me, but no, it's interesting. Sorry.
No, it matters too. Draft capital. Like if he doesn't go to the 5th round, then obviously we're having a different conversation.
That's fair. Trying to think, I threw out some deeper names at wide receiver as well, but honestly, I've only got high names right now. I haven't dug into the lesser known guys nearly enough because I want to get to running back and do the top 12 there, and then. So my process tends to be a little slow this time of year, I guess. But normally everyone's so invested in the combine they don't notice. And doing a little spring cleaning, don't mind me. Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is someone I would have more easily dismissed, not even a couple years ago. But I was actually impressed with myself, should we say, about my ability to notice that there's maybe a little bit more to the profile, certain terms of value upside, than his overall numbers suggests when you jump off or just use a model score or whatever. But anyway, Robert, 12-team Superflex start 8. Trade ETN and Evans for Taylor. Jonathan Taylor? Gotta be. Rest of team is Burrow, Mahomes, Chase, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, Tony, Najee, Connor, and Goddard. 12-team Superflex. Evans? Mike Evans for Jonathan Taylor?
I'd
ETN for Evans and Jonathan Taylor.
I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor. Yeah.
Taylor straight up, I'd rather have over ETN.
Yep.
Just getting like a free Evans. That's pretty cool.
No, you're trading Evans and ETN to get Taylor.
Did I read that? ETN and Evans for Taylor. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was going to say that was just, but even then, Evans is a fine plus to get to Taylor. Austin, 10-team Superflex. I have Watson. Apology. No, you're fine. Trevor Lawrence, Lance, Danny Dimes is my QB as my QB room. With 102, 103, 105. Obviously, I don't need a QB. Need doesn't really factor into the draft, but I get what you're putting down. I'm curious how we would approach the draft. Same way, and actually that was the answer. I draft the best player. I draft who I think are the best players with the highest expectations of scoring fantasy points and having value increases. My roster doesn't really factor into it. I don't. Where is Russ? You draft for value, trade for need. And that's kind of the guiding principle I use in drafts in general, especially in Dynasty. So, yeah, I'd be right now, if the draft was today, I'd be drafting in a Superflex. It'd be Bijan Robinson, which you won't get, but then it'd be the QB1, the QB2, and I'd hope to get Addison at 5. Because Gibbs and JSN are probably gone by 5. Best guess.
Yeah, and I would, if you have a league chat, or I would say I'm entertaining offers for the quarterbacks at 102 and 103.
Yeah, you can always try and trade them.
If you don't have to trade them right now. You don't. Mm-hmm. Don't give them up for a less than offer. But if you get a good offer, Austin, then you can make a trade off of those. If not, Peter's absolutely right. Take the quarterbacks, and eventually your league will either come groveling to you, or you're going to have the Bull of the Woods quarterback room. And so either way, you're feeling good about it.
And as far as trades go, again, in a rookie draft, I'm more likely to trade up or just overdraft a player. That's the way I play rookie drafts. And I do it strictly so my league mates learn that when I'm sending a trade offer, like, don't think you're getting the guy if I don't get a trade back, because I found that often. It's like, I'm going to take him now, or you're going to give me a little something and I'll move back.
The other thing you could do is see if you can pair 102 and 105 and move up to 101. And then
that's what I was going to say. So
you end up with Bijan and then a quarterback.
I think the 5 and 2 is a hefty price. I'd probably start a little lower, but that's probably fair value. If you want to go to the 101 and get Bijan Robinson, that's fine by me too. But again, your picks are comfortable enough. They're in the top 6 in a super flex. Like, I don't think you need to do that. And that's why my default answer was just draft those players.
Yep.
But if you have a different top 6 or a different tier list and it gets to your pick, or it's close to your pick and it's not there, that's when I start thinking, okay, I want down. And because the guy I want this high isn't there, so what's a 24 pick plus get me for this 102 or 103? Because I don't like the short quarterback or whatever it happens to be that you don't like. But that's the way I play it, not trying to insert my evaluation over or my preference for players over yours. You can work with your own ranks, but that's the way I try and think about the draft. Go get your guy. If you're in the right place to get him, then get him. Unless you get a great trade. And if the guy that you wanted right there, like the one, I try not to draft. But you're in a tier where there's very few players I wouldn't be really interested in adding on. That's why I'm saying probably just draft them. But if it falls out of your tier, I'd be trading back. What's the second round pick in the 2024? Who wants to come up and get this guy? Right. Or this range of guys. Richard Davis. I don't know if my other message is saved.
We got you, Richard.
For Zeke. We got you. Thank you. I don't know why they didn't say it. Sorry about that. Todd Radmaker. 12-team Superflex start 10. Get George Kittle? Yes. Yeah. The 111 Gesicki.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. End of the first round are interesting picks, but it's not a first round pick. Like, first round pick for a quarter tight end is awfully. But a late first and throw in a Gesicki, yeah, just do that. I would, personally. Who is your deep sleeper wide receiver this year? I don't really have a great sleeper list yet. I have thrown out some names that I think are interesting in a quick hit video, but most of them are probably known. Marvin Mims was in there. Zach just mentioned them. Trey Palmer, probably the deepest name I mentioned. Someone on my YouTube comments asked me to look, and I haven't dug in. but he did turn up on this list of maybe take a closer look at that guy, Jaden Reed. Probably the deepest names I've come across so far, but I'm not in yet. I'm just interested, should I say.
The problem, though, with deep sleeper wide receivers is that's not where you want to, that's not where you want to expend your energy.
The deeper you go, the more you want right back.
Yeah. So I appreciate the question, Todd, but I think that the further down you like there are guys that I like that are going deeper, but I don't believe they'll be particularly fantasy relevant. Like I like Parker Washington, out of Penn State, but I think he's going to be a second option and kind of struggle to drive volume. I like Rakim Jarrett, but again, possession receiver, low volume. I don't see that I don't see that being a player that is going to be particularly interesting. Rashee Rice, maybe as low as I'm willing to go. So I've got a top tier of Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison. They flip flop kind of on the regular. I actually, Peter, this is a dirty little secret. I actually have Jordan Addison graded out a half a point higher than Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I don't have the guts to take him over. I got like take lock. I got to work through this. I've got to work through my take lock.
I don't know which confirmation bias do I want to give into.
Yeah, and that's it. But they're in that top tier. Quentin Johnston is my second tier. Kayshon Boutte is my third tier, and then it's a tier of Zay Flowers, Marvin Mims, Rashee Rice, and Josh Downs. And after that, it's the lightning round. Like I'm not confident in anybody beyond that. So,
yeah. Sorry, I'm just watching the storm. Should be over by about 11:50. It normally isn't loud enough. I can hear it in the basement through my headphones. Put it that way. Don't mean to bore you all. Yeah. I think Zach said it. Especially if it's not Superflex, it's where I even start considering quarterbacks, where most people are taking their sleeper wide receivers because it's just a better chance of them doing something sooner, in terms of value at least. Has your evaluation of Watson developed?
This must be for you.
No. It's stolid. It's steadfast. It's similar. And actually got worse. Well, no, I think JJ Zachariason was worse on him than I was even. And again, I've been put through the ringer on Twitter a few times, including a guy who was literally commenting on an article where I was higher than everyone else on him. So I'm like, okay. I see the upside, and all I'm putting to is risk in the profile, which again, expectation of returns. Yeah, gotcha.
We need the
quarterback evaluations.
The clip of Dennis Green saying they were who we thought they were, and we let him off the hook. And he's good, like he's fine. What he does, he does really well. But are you going to do that as efficiently without the most efficient quarterback in the NFL?
Maybe he's still in a dark room, right? I'll go back to what you said earlier again. Like I believe him the first time, and he's told me in college, he's told me in the first year. Like he's very talented, probably going to score lots of points, or at least good points in a very specific role. But it's all unknown.
You're just going to skip that
giddy up. I just skipped you, didn't I? Bateman, a high 24 high second. And Deshaun for Trevor Lawrence.
I think I'd take Lawrence.
I think I'd take Lawrence though. You getting the?
I know you like. I know
the high second.
I get the Bateman but
no, I have answered this before, and I took the. I think the value's there, but I don't want it, and it's close enough where I can just go. Meh. I just take Trevor Lawrence, I guess. I like getting Bateman. The value's high second. Probably needs to be a first to be even. And I think it's not enough for me to try it.
And he's saying he thinks the Lawrence hype is jump the shark a little bit, and is leaning taking the Watson side, which that's fine. If Watson comes back to Deshaun Watson, you probably win that, because I think Trevor Lawrence, like high-end Trevor Lawrence, may actually be a little bit below high-end Deshaun Watson, but it's
I think they're both top 12 quarterbacks, and there's a question of if he either both keep it up or one returns to doing it. And you're getting a second. And Bateman for me in Dynasty, and the reason why I like adding him, and I said now is when I'd be trading to add him. I was looking at some of my rosters. He basically fulfills the function. I trade for young guys who I think people are undervalued, the values and the sleepers, and think of them as second round picks. Like their upside value, who I have a little bit more information on than a random second. And Bateman would have been a steal in the second round in his draft class, for example. And I think people are overreading that situation. And that's how I use them for in Dynasty. Essentially, you're trying to maintain value. But you can't always trade for picks. You can't always have just picks. And sometimes I find a player like Bateman, or who else did I find on my roster a lot? Juju, honestly, is the way I've been playing the last few years. I just think there's maybe more value in that over the long term, and I got a couple of years to see it develop, hopefully. Elijah Moore is someone I'm starting to put on rosters in the same way. It's like a high second to me. So you're essentially getting Deshaun Watson 2 high seconds for Trevor Lawrence, and it's fine, but seconds aren't really enough to tempt me off it when you've got extra years. And Watson probably is going to be a top 12 quarterback, but I would still say that Trevor Lawrence is as likely to be a top 12 quarterback next year. So, yeah, it's just not enough for me to take the side that's got a little eel to it and a little hope and dream. Like, Bateman has to do something in the same way that second has to be a good pick. The Trevor Lawrence is just definitely younger. So, I think it's fine to take the other side if you have a higher evaluation on Watson or a lower evaluation of Trevor Lawrence. But if you're asking me, that's how I evaluate it. And you can evaluate the players differently, but I think the process is fair, you know?
And the second part of that where he says it seems like the Trevor Lawrence hype is bonkers. The reason why it's bonkers is because he has had the most bulletproof quarterback profile since Andrew Luck. And last year played
kind of showed
like
that
he
it
should
was
have
his situation.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's the reason why. It's not like, and again, it's close enough to me that you're I wouldn't beat you up for taking the Watson side at all. But I think the value, the longevity, the staying value, the sustainable value is on the Trevor Lawrence side.
Yeah, it's why if you have a first in the trade, I'd probably go, okay, because even though a first isn't necessarily better than a high second, it is for trades, right? A first is a first is a first when you put it in a trade offer. And so you just a little more security there. Whereas, again, Bateman has bust potential. I don't think so, but he does. And the high second always do, has a hit rate, has not a hit rate. But again, you can use the same process, but to have different evaluation, and you take the side you think, because that's literally the fun we're having. so I think it's more important how we're breaking the trade down. If you differ on the opinions, at least then you know what went right. That's what I've always been. I want to know what I did right and wrong so I can assess it. And if you go the opposite way, then you can come back and say, well, I used this process. Turns out Bateman had bust potential. That second didn't work out. Maybe I should have asked for a first straight up instead of just the 2 seconds. And you can go back and evaluate it. And if you get it right, you're like, my process is on point. I knew more about Trevor Lawrence than everyone else. And that's but as long as you do it in a way that you know what you're betting on, then you can go back and see what you bet on that went wrong. And if there's a way you can correct it. Sorry to get long-winded about it, but I just want Russ back, really. 24-second AJ Dillon and a 25-second for Chig, who doesn't factor for me. Mike Williams, at this point, doesn't factor for me in Dynasty too much. And 24 thirds. Yeah, it's the 2 seconds. And even AJ Dillon, I or the roster him and the other. DK Ridley, Tony Pittman, Burke, Dotson, and Hodgins at wide receiver. Jim, what you have doesn't often affect. It's more about your team situation where you have to lean less risk averse or you have the potential to go more risk averse. But we do. The context is appreciated, Marvin. Appreciated. Gary Russell, 12 teams who flex start 10. I have Kyler. Happy for you. No, there's more. There's more to this one, surely. 12 teams who flex start 10. I have Kyler, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson at QB. Thinking of dealing Kyler to either move up from 4 or just get another pick. Plus, what should I aim for? Well, this would go well on a QB value discussion, but we're not having that yet because Russ won't show up. I actually recently traded for Kyler, and I was going to bring it up. I think it was with Russ on a team where I'm building, so I don't necessarily care that he's not starting anytime soon. What did I end up trading him for? Or trading for him at? I got Kyler Murray, and someone called Dynasty Outhouse got the 102 this year, which is a quarterback, granted, but I know more about this quarterback than next year's quarterback. Well, he also got the 202 off me, which I didn't notice. I didn't break down the trade too much. I assumed he was doing good value because it's Russ, and he's just morally righteous. So he wouldn't send it. And then a second in 24 as well. So 2 seconds and the 102 this year. Seemed a little high, but he knows I think Kyler can get healthy and be back to what he was. So it was fine.
See, and I'd almost, if I were Russ, I'd almost want, instead of the 2 seconds, I'd almost want a first next year.
Yeah, I think he did me right. But it is a very, very high second to the point we were just talking about. And he offered it me. This isn't me trying to skim him, to be clear. Yep. Like he's just and to compare that to this trade, Kyler to get from the 104 up, presumably to the 102. I think you're actually getting a little less in that deal. I don't think you'd have to add. I don't think you should have to add to Kyler to get the 102. So I think you should keep the 104 if you're trading Kyler. The 102 or 103 should be in the deal to get Kyler, and then I think the other person should have to add. So it's similar to what Russ and Pete did. Like I would want, Gary, if it were me, if I'm trading Kyler for the 102, I would want the 102, and then I would want a 24 first. If we couldn't get that done, I don't love seconds, but I see the value in what Russ did, and that's not a bad second prize. Yeah, he can start a roster week 1, or if the season started next week, and I can't. So it made sense that I don't have to wait, and he gets some more enticing value prospects, and he'll probably win because he usually does these trades. But yeah, and it's not like it has to pay the same as I do. If that's the way you treat, I mean, you can do that trade, but understand you're probably getting a little less than on average, or at least in my league. You could get. So I'd offer it Kyler for the 102 straight up, and at least ask for those 2 seconds or add a first on. If he's not willing to do that, that sucks. But there are other prospects, and you can trade up in other ways by adding something different to the 104 to get to the 102.
And Gary, there's nothing right now in stone where that 104 may be a quarterback. If Anthony Richardson goes in the top 10 picks or 15 picks, and you have Richardson, you have Bryce Young, and you have CJ Stroud all go in the top 15 picks, there are going to be 3 quarterbacks in the top 4 picks of Superflex, or pretty close to it. And then all of a sudden you solve your problem without having to give up Kyler, and then you can use Kyler to move for position players. And you may actually get better value back that way because you're giving up a quarterback to acquire position players. So, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility too, going forward. So again, you don't necessarily have to make that move now. And you've got a bunch of flexibility because you have that 104. You've got some flexibility with the way that the NFL draft shakes out.
Mm-hmm. Ryan Harvey, if I have the 101 and my RBs are Derrick Henry, James Cameron, okay, Pacheco, Fournette, should I prioritize Bijan, Robinson, I'm assuming in the Superflex, or secure the likes of Mahomes or Allen by adding the 101 to Rodgers? If it's a Superflex, I'd rather have Mahomes or Rodgers.
Yeah.
To be honest, but those are the 2 quarterbacks I consider doing something like that for, because otherwise you have that at the running back position, and that's how you get one of those elite value players. And there's like 2 or 3. We extended it to 5 last off season, but I think 2 or 3 quarterbacks, maybe 4, and with that level of value and points at the quarterback, there's none right now at running back. There's none. That's why they're overvalued. And there's 2 at wide receiver, and honestly, at tight end, it's getting a little difficult. Really, only Kyle Pitts has claim to that elite value tier, where there's not many times that it's not a good idea to trade into him. But those are the players I'm going for. Otherwise, I think Bijan Robinson is going to be the next one, a running back. So you're getting one of those guys. And that's the way I think about trading the one-on-one. I want into that tier because I think I'm getting it with a one-on-one. And in a Superflex league, I'd rather go get that guy at quarterback than running back. But if I can't, I'll just get it at running back. Or you can trade it into Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. Maybe Kyle Pitts, depending on how you feel about it.
So it is. It's about winning positionally. So positional value and points per position. And yes, Bijan gives you a win positional value, but the most important position in Superflex, the biggest difference in positional value is Mahomes or Josh Allen. So
had all this broken down in that How to Dynasty video that's now trashed, by the way. I was like, there's elite. That's why how I had the answer ready. So I was talking about
this week,
how value exists and how you typically trade old to young and old again to get points and also maintain value. But there is this tier of players, which is it was a great video. It would have been great.
This weekend, Peter. We need to. You and I will jump on the stream. You can add a third screen. We'll screen share that, and then you and I will just talk about what you're talking about, and
comment on it.
Yeah, it'll be perfect.
Terrible audio. It's really tinny. It's like it was
recorded have a bowl with of popcorn.
Yeah. Because I was trying to fix it because when I switched screens, the volume on one of them is really low. So I was playing with the properties, and it just turned out I switched the microphone from this normal mic that I use to default, and it turns out it thinks this is default. Damn it. That's not default. Why would that be default? By that, I mean trading the one-on-one into run. Yeah. I think we got it. But appreciate the question. Gavin Ferguson. It's a shame Cowboys are thought to franchise tag a running back or tight end with this rookie class, not to mention free agency. And I personally think Ferguson and Shot could make Schultz production. I think we're missing the end of it. Chargers GM, is this a different?
Oh no, he's saying that the Cowboys are ridiculous, and I am fully on board with that. Did
Thomas No Slack actually like that comment. I think he did very well. And this delayed breakout or development this year is kind of really understandable. He wasn't high in he was actually higher in my prospect model at the time. Now he rates as kind of middling. But yeah, I really like what he did. And sometimes when they were on the field, he was still getting a really decent target share, which is not nothing. And then when either one of them were out, he was great. So yeah, I like the Palmer note, and I think that's the way to get into that offense. But this is about coaching trees and NFL decisions, and I'm like, there's a reason I don't make millions of dollars. There's lots of reasons I don't make millions of dollars. But yeah, fair comments. Love it, Rashawn Johnson, baby. Kevin also says, so happy to hear it. So many people out there are overlooking him. I think the hype usually ramps up, but depending on when your rookie draft is, that could be a significant edge. He'll get second-day draft capital, which would definitely send the hype up a little bit, especially if I think he's appropriately sized or the size that people like. I get the impression anyway.
Yep.
And I think I was just looking at Evan from Dynasty Debates podcast. Wasn't he learning the running back position that first year or something? Like he was originally quarterback.
He came in as a quarterback. And the funny thing with Roschon Johnson, so he came into Texas. He was behind Sam Ehlinger because obviously, Sam Ehlinger, the Hall of Fame Sam Ehlinger, but Roschon Johnson in high school had 7,700 passing yards. He had 4,900 rushing yards and accounted for 85 total touchdowns. Like that's pretty good. Yeah, like that's not a bad career in high school. So, and then he came in, figured out how to play running back and did it very well. And I know. I listened to you and JJ Zachariason, and I heard you guys make fun of yards per carry because it's a terrible metric.
I listened to you talking to JJ Zachariason. What a ridiculous!
I know, but it was great. and I heard you pan yards per carry, and you're absolutely right. But when Roschon Johnson came in, they didn't miss a beat really from Bijan Robinson, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's not unimpressive, shall we say. It's just a little hard to, through my process of looking for
Small
comparables.
sample. No, I get
That's
it.
the
Small
only
sample.
reason it would be.
Yep.
Yeah, small sample, nerd stuff, Austin, Legends, thanks for the response. No problem, buddy.
Always, Austin. Thank you for the question.
Exactly. As someone that digs into prospects, who's a better on-field talent? I don't know why I said it that way. Between Butte and Pickens. Oh, that's a really interesting question. I didn't expect that one. Pickens. No, they both had off-field problems. Pickens probably because I had a cleaner sample. I seem to remember. Butte's a little bit. What's going on with that guy? And there was off-field concerns with Pickens, but not on-field off-field concerns. Like what? Why isn't he playing when he should play? So I'd say he was probably a little easy to read. Both have, if you evaluate it deep enough, Pickens had, I think we described him as someone who was more upside than most players in that draft class.
Yes.
And Butte kind of has upside, but you've got to have all these questions. And I think I prefer the first thing. I think I prefer the Pickens thing.
It was Pickens for me by a little bit.
Oh, good to know it's close because it was the same thing.
Yep. I just had to flip back to my Pickens evaluation and then compare to what I had. So that's the cool.
Just have everything in a folder. He knows the answer to everything.
Well, that's it. Like that's the cool thing about doing things the way I do is I've got I've been able to sit there and go back and do historical because 2017 was when I really dialed in the process the way I do things now. So 2015 and 2016 was me trying to like figure things out. And then 2017 was like, all right, I think I've got this. And then, there have been little tweaks here and there, but by and large, I can sit there and give you my rankings from 2017 on historically and give you a pretty good idea of what I thought about players. And so it's a good way to kind of keep myself in check. And
so honestly, why my process got grouped in with the nerds and analytics, and you're a numbers guy, right? It's because I wanted to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to historical process is the way I think of it. Yeah. But everyone's like, "Oh, you're doing statistics." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I better look at
look at you, nerd."
Because I want to compare one to the other, and I'm but film guys keep track of that. It could be the same process, and it kind of is. You're just using different information to do that.
Yeah, well, but it's.
That's kind of what I look for in my film guys.
Different information,
it's the same process,
but it's the same information. Yeah, that's the thing is we're both telling the same story, but we're telling it from different perspectives. I mean, I feel like, and I've told you this, I've talked about this. I think that the analytics is the like what happens in the story, that like story arc. Like this is the action, boom. And I think that film watching is the why it happened. So like that filling out like a character study. So you need to have the action to drive the story, but you also need to have the character study to make the story more complete. And if you add them together, you get a pretty good picture.
I don't know. But yeah, it sounds right. Zach, hi fellas. Hi.
Hey.
Appreciate you. Open 24 hours for skipping you for a second because you didn't finish that comment and you did later. Gavin says I should check out the Teeny Weeny Beanie video from Jimmy Fallon and Paul Rudd. I actually don't know the reference, but if you're talking about the hat, it's actually not Teeny Weeny. I'm just trying to hide the fact that I still refuse to have a haircut. And I noticed if I push it back a little bit, it's like a little bit of one of those hipster-looking fellas. And I was like, well, I put so little effort into my appearance. Maybe you should go with that. Little hair out the front. I should be eating in a vegan restaurant or something. I don't know. So it's cool. Or at least more effort than I usually put in. Open 24 hours. 12-team PPR. Start 9. Elijah Moore plus what equals Devontae Adams. The 2
Devontae Adams.
24-second plus Moore. Yeah, there's not. Yeah, that's the thing about Moore. That's why I don't mind trading from right now. You're basically trading at the middling to high second round pick. That's where he's valued at. Devontae Adams' value is still well up there. Despite being older, he's still held at high in ranks in ADP, which is kind of a sham because most of those players are ranking that or drafting that in their ADP mocks know for a fact they will not do that next year no matter what. He'll be where Cooper Kupp is. So he's a points bet, but he's a high-level, high-value points bet. So, yeah, you're missing most of the value here. If you got Devontae Adams for Elijah Moore on a second-round pick or 2 second-round picks, you could throw all that, and I would consider it a really good trade for you getting Devontae Adams.
If if I have Devontae Adams, I want a top 6 pick. Whether or not I get it, I don't know, but that's
and you
what
probably
I want.
wouldn't suggest people do that, right?
To trade a top 6 pick for Adams? No, probably not, especially not right now. To me,
anything less than that, it's a good trade.
To me, the Adams proposition is an in-season trade. Like that'd be one that I would, if my team is doing well after the first 6 weeks, I'll go, okay, I'll give you my 24 first for Devontae Adams. Like that's how I would approach Adams right now. I don't necessarily want to be acquiring him. And again, Elijah Moore doesn't have very much value right now at all.
No, it's why I don't mind trading for him.
Rightly so. Like, but he's a great piece to get it as a throw in.
Yeah.
But I think to get to Devontae Adams from Elijah Moore, you're going to need to trade a first.
Yeah, easily. I think just based on ADP and ranks in your league, the guy might be, I hate Devontae Adams. I'd do that. In which case, make that trade. But yeah. Alex Sanders to JCIC. That's the way I'm saying it. Good evening, gents. Missed your show last week. I'm sorry to hear that. Gonna need to listen to it later this week. Happy to hear that. How deep is the seconds this year? Maybe not there yet, but I think it's pretty good second round. There's a lot of running backs that are going to be in there that I'll be interested in. A couple of wide receivers too. And then non-Superflex, that's where I take a pretty good quarterback prospect and have that high rate of value increase into the following year. How many FF hits from the second this year? Well,
the cool thing is there are a bunch of running backs. So your chances of having hits from there are going to be better. Alexander, I know we're on DLF and but I'm gonna cross-pollinate, cross-promote real quick. I was on with John Hogue, who is another DLF guy. He's the Superflex dude at Superflex Dude on Twitter, and he and I did a second round of a rookie mock for 4for4 football. So if you're on YouTube and you watch this and then you go back and watch our last week's show, after you do that, if you want to find out about the second round, go look up 4for4 football. John Hogue and I did the first round 2 weeks ago, and this past week we did the second round. And I think there are going to be some pretty decent running back buys in there. I got Roschon Johnson in the second round. I got Zay Flowers in the second round, not a running back, but an interesting profile, at least for me. Devin A-Chain went in the second round. Sean Tucker went in the second round. Kendre Miller went in the second round. And Tyjae Spears went in the second round. So there's this real kind of interesting group of running backs who may not profile as the initial starter for a backfield, but have chances to either be a pass catcher plus, so start out as a pass catcher, and then if there's an injury or something happens, they can assume the role, or they are, like a 1A in a committee. So there definitely are some second round picks that are going to be worth making. I don't believe, and if you've listened to me talk at all, I don't believe the fairy tale that second round picks are worth first round picks, because only about the first 6 first round picks are worth first round picks.
I can actually answer this question directly, but instead I'm going to link a thread in the comment box down there. It's got all the rookie draft hit rates from DLF ADP between 2013 and 2019. On average, we get about 27% of our second round picks of running back and wide receiver are hits, but it's very interdependent year by year when you're looking at the position. For example, wide receiver, you either get 66% hits coming from the second round, or you get zip. Running back is a little more consistent, so that 27% similar average is actually a lie. You can be more certain of getting a running back hit in the second round. Again, we'll find a player, and I'm defining here as having at least one top 24 season, to be clear, because you could play with that definition, get slightly different numbers. And in fact, I do run through top 12 as well as top 24 in that thread. But you should expect 27% of the picks in the second round in general to be to at least one top 24 season hits. And they're mostly running backs, but that also includes like quarterbacks that get drafted in the second round of single QB DLF ADP. There he is.
Hey,
Hey, everybody.
how's it going?
It's going.
That good, huh?
I have heat in my house, so
Well, that's good.
I'm better than I was yesterday and today.
Oh, that's no bueno.
It was not.
No.
Oh, sound good.
So we get a call from our maintenance company. We have a warranty through on our furnace. They're like, hey, we haven't been there 2 years. Checkup free warranty. Sure. Have fun. Have at it. Guy comes, gives the okay. Everything's perfect. Everything's fine.
Breaks it.
And then, I'm never cold. I didn't even 5-6 hours later, my daughter's just like, Daddy, can you turn the heat up? And I'm like, I guess so. Yeah, it might be a little. Oh,
Did he not turn it back on, or did he break something?
So he it appeared he broke something, because I went down the two things I know to check. There's an emergency on-off switch.
Yeah.
And the circuit breakers in the garage.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, let's go. I go downstairs. The switch was to on. I'm like, off, on. Nope, never mind. Let me go check the garage. I opened the fuse box. There was a thing that was tripped. I'm like, I'm a man. I got this. I fix it. I go, and then all of a sudden, garage GFI. All right, that is not my heat, but I did fix something. So of course I call, and my version of yelling, which isn't really yelling, it's me just sounding super annoyed, and just like, look, my heat was fine. You touched it, and it's not fine now. You need to fix it, and I'm not giving anybody any money for whatever the heck they need to do to fix it. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll get first thing in the morning. You're right. This, we'll give you a call right away. So 9:30 rolls around. I call 11:30. You're on the roster. You're on the whatever. 2:30 rolls around. You guys coming? Oh, yeah, we're in the driveway. Have you been there since 11:30 and didn't feel like coming or something? So, thankfully, they sent a different guy, because I don't know what I would have done if it was the same guy. So the guy just walks in, opens it up. He's like, oh, yeah, your motor's not. And he went to say running, but then he goes, plugged in. Your motor's not plugged in. So when the guy tested it to make sure everything was still up and going, he didn't plug it back in. Yeah. And
have you tried unplugging it, plugging it back in?
I turned it off and turned it back on again. That is the. I did.
That's the extent of my knowledge. Yeah, because I'm not meant to need to know more than that.
He opens up the thing, and you see hanging wires, and in my head, I'm like, I could have fucking figured that out if I opened it. But then also, if I opened that and I just saw wires, it's like, I'm not fucking touching that. So it was not great of an experience, because it got really effing cold. But that is my life. That is like like, Russ, what is your life like? That is a microcosm for this.
You look good, though.
I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. At least you're warm there.
Now
you want to answer some Dynasty questions?
I do. I miss you guys so much. Let's go.
Well, since you're here, we may as well do the thing I keep, or I run the risk of forgetting. Rob, just Rob. Rob is the username. That's what I'm going with.
Rob.
He asked if we could talk about starting QB in a 12-team Superflex on our next Dynasty Grind episode. I asked because I'm seriously thinking about trading a 24 first and second for Kenny Pickett. Most other people are saying I'm crazy, but isn't it worth it for a QB who should be the starter for at least the next 4 years? Thoughts? So QB value in Superflex, when you're talking about a middling, mostly talking about you'll have a quarterback to start for a few years, maybe.
Okay, so I actually have had over the past few days. It's really funny. You put this in our group DM. I feel like it was 3 days ago, and every day that I've thought about it, my thinking has actually evolved a little bit, just based on things I've come in, confronted with. And one of it was with Zach, and I can't remember who we were talking about, and you're like, this is why I hate Superflex values. This guy should not be worth anything, but he's a starting quarterback, so he's kind of worth a first. And we have gotten to the point, it is so much better than it was 3-4 years ago. 3-4 years ago, if you were a starting quarterback, you were worth a first plus. Like literally the 32nd starting quarterback, the worst starting quarterback, was worth a first. Anyone else above that was worth more. And so glad we got past that because it was stupid. And we were talking last night on Trade Addicts about quarterbacks and about the quarterback landscape now and going forward. And we hit a weird patch a few years ago where when we had, for what felt like literally a decade of Brady, Breeze, Roethlisberger, both of the Mannings, like we had these very good, very solid quarterbacks playing until their mid-upper 30s, and it felt stable. Like regardless of how good they were, regardless of how many fantasy points they got you, you weren't worried about losing a quarterback on your roster. Short of injury, you can't predict that. But then, like Cam Newton getting cut by the Panthers happened, and then Josh Rosen happened, and all of a sudden, quarterback wasn't stable anymore. And then we started valuing very young quarterbacks very highly, very quickly, because we knew they were stable. And yes, I finally did hang up T.
I was going to say.
And I made sure to hang him a little lower so you could actually see more than just his foot. Like when it was over there, he was bad. And now we, I think, are in the best we've been in a while, because of the top 10 quarterbacks, one of them is over 27 years old. And that's if you still count Dak as a top 10. And then we're getting Bryson Young, and maybe Levis or Richardson are good and make it up there. Next year, we're supposed to be getting another 2 or 3.
And every year we tend to see at least 2 that have fantasy relevance.
Yeah, right. And everyone, again, is so young that honestly, I think we're in a great spot, which may lead to that increase again. But I'm hoping we get to the point, like you said, a first and a second, a 24 first and second for Pickett isn't bad, because it's a future first. Like that's the only reason I would pay more than a first. Like if it was anywhere in 23, I probably don't want to give up a first. But since it's a year out, and I am of the mind time is money, so you should decrease the 24 first a little bit because it's a year out and random. But yeah, we are at least at the point where like Derek Carr isn't worth a first. You're not going to give a first for Matt Ryan or not anymore. Clearly Marcus Mariota, Carson Wentz. Like we've gotten to the point where it's not as bad as it used to be, and I hope it keeps going this way, because I feel like that has always been a very big sticking point for anti-Superflex. You just they're worth way too much. You just can't handle it, even the bad ones. Like soon, hopefully, if the bad quarterbacks in the league stay this bad, we'll get to the point where people realize it's Superflex. You don't have to start a second quarterback. So they shouldn't be worth that much.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you Defense Exhibit A. Zay Jones outscored Kenny Pickett in points per game last season.
Yeah.
The defense rests.
Okay. But before you get to that, because you're absolutely right, but the thought process is more on average. Like on average, a quarterback would have a higher ceiling than wide receiver, whatever.
Not bad quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying. Not anymore with how much passing is going on in this league. And usually that should be good for quarterbacks as well, but not if you're bad.
So to me, it hasn't, the league hasn't changed as much as the dynasty community has, but the dynasty community hasn't changed as much as it needs to. And this is always my response is, I really enjoy playing in Superflex leagues for the company of my league mates. And a one quarterback league because I never have to think about AJ McCarron. And that's like my kind of my assessment of Superflex leagues is I don't want to think about Kenny Pickett. I don't want to think about the bad quarterbacks because they don't actually add value to your team other than perceived value that your league mates have. And again, that's a little bit high level and a little bit using a hammer to, do a sculpture where I should be using a chisel, but
not every problem's a nail, Zach. Come on.
Yeah, but it's pretty close. Like it's pretty close. I joke with John Hogue because he's the QBX guy. Like he wants all of the quarterbacks all the time, and I said I play X QB. I have all of the quarterbacks that are backups and could start and whatever. But I'll super flex Cooper Kupp or I'll super flex one of these good wide receivers or a running back rather than super flex a terrible quarterback.
Yeah, all of that, but also none of that. Yeah, I think a lot of us came into Superflex. I know because I did this we'd just been taught, well, not just, but late round QB, and that was the policy. Like, you don't need it. And that's what Zach's describing there. But the dynasty version of it, because it's not about not valuing that quarterback pick in drafts, it's about not valuing a certain tier of quarterbacks. And that's largely been true, although increasingly, as DLF recently pointed out, we've valued quarterbacks higher and higher, as Russ was talking about. For the last 4 or 5 years, we've increasingly drafted more quarterbacks in the top 10. It's a certain type of quarterback. And to go with what Russ was saying, we're expecting that stable era of Roethlisberger and Rivers. But remember, Rivers and Eli Manning mostly sucked for most of the time you were trying to start them. And even that was a higher floor than we're currently getting from anyone outside the top 5 right now. I actually do expect a little bit change against what Zach said a little bit in terms of what we expect at their quarterback and Russ, because he said maybe we're entering that era again. I think the quarterback position is changing for the NFL level. You've got an elite level of prospects who can make demands, and then an NFL full of billionaires who literally don't want to have demands made of them by their employees. And so you've got an increasing amount of quarterbacks changing or switching teams or getting Derek Carr. Derek Carr would have fit into that era perfectly as a stable quarterback. And yet whether he's a starter or not has gone up and down in his value and whether they want him or want to sign him, because I think there's a social change almost going on with the way the NFL is ran and how they're valuing only some quarterbacks really need to be able to have that high level status on their team. And talking about the second contract of quarterbacks basically kills the cap for most teams and they have to start working around it. So there's financial reasons and also roster building reasons to actually lean into that. But more straight to the point of this trade, I think the reason he's worth a first is, like you're saying, you get 4 years of picks. One, I don't think the stability is nearly as likely to be there as you maybe think right now, because Jared Goff's having a pretty good, like that's just above average, above what I expect of Jared. Of Pickens right now, and if he's below that, then he's not going to be the starter for 4 years. Something will happen, especially in this new era that I think's coming in. But more to the point, your trade is you're not trying to get a quarterback. You're trying to lock yourself into your quarterback 2 position, sucking for 4 years. And I just don't get the intention of the trade. You just don't want to have to think about it. Trade a second for literally any of these old guys who might start 10 games next year. Like Russ just listed a bunch who are worth less than this, and you're locking yourself into a sucky quarterback 2 for less for a shorter period of time, which just seems better to me. But you might have a higher opinion of Kenny Pickett, in which case you could use the same process again to have a higher valuation. And a first is, and a second, like Russ said, is a perfectly fine valuation. He's the king of it. He knows what he's talking about. And also, I just agree, a quarterback should be worth a first in Superflex. But I'm not doing that. Like, he can be worth that as much as he wants. I don't think it's where I want to invest my value of my roster. Like, if I want to try and treat my points per game, or I want to try and take bets where they might get more valuable, and I don't think Kenny Pickett ever does. So, like, it's not the trade for me, but I think the trade's fine if you want to execute it. So that's about sum it up.
I think so, but I also really need to point out that, and I'm skipping ahead on this because I can't help it, but the freak, I don't know, whoever this guy is, apparently just got upset that I showed up.
Oh, no.
Well, first of all, he says, Russ killed it. I'm out. And I was like, wait, I killed it. I did good. Oh, no. Then I looked back. Apparently, I slowed down our progress. So he is upset.
I did?
He left.
Well, that sucks. Let's get back to progressing, I guess.
Right?
Woo!
Like,
Wanting the 101, the other side wants Waddle and Walker. Thoughts? Still have wide receivers JJ Bateman. What you have doesn't affect it. Okay. And London. Good. Taylor. Good. ETN. Fine. Connor and the 106 and 206. So I think the question is, if you have the 101 and they want Waddle from you, the 101 owner wants Waddle and Walker, what kind of trade would you put together for the 101 from this plethora of value?
I love using Ken Walker to get up to the 101, but not with Waddle. That's like, if I, or you know what? Yes. Cool. I need something back. And it's not too often you'll get something back with the 101, but this is too much. This is 2 second-round picks for this is way too much. This is like, I would need something more back than they were willing to give, I'm sure. Like, I want someone that is going in my lineup. Clearly not as good as Waddle or Walker, but even more than, like, I was about to say, Jerry Jeudy is like such a go-to for the pretty good player, but no, like, I want someone I know will be DJ Moore. How about that? Like, because DJ Moore has that value. He is like, name a wide receiver too, DJ Moore. And his ceiling isn't high enough that I feel like people would value him too highly anymore. So I need someone like that. I need someone that is going into my lineup if I'm giving up Waddle.
Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley.
You don't have to give up both, I guess. And
but like, if that's what
Waddle straight up for the 101 seems fair-ish, but backwards to me. And I think I would add Bateman to Walker. I think I would add the 106 even to Walker to get the 101.
Yes.
Maybe that's a little high, but I think that's
I don't
something
mind
I would
that.
do. But if he wants both of them, then he owes. So the trade is, what else are you willing to add to the 101?
Right.
And
see, like, like, if we're doing the smart thing and looking at the pieces he gave us to
which I think is what he's asking us to do. But
I would do anything in my power to get Waddle out of there.
Yeah,
like, I would honestly throw in Bateman and London just to keep Waddle out of there. I don't want to do that. That's too much. But I'm just saying, like, if I could do the 101, the 106, Walker, and Bateman,
even throwing Bateman,
I would eat that extra value and just get the 101 back, because I'm breaking it down to the 106 and Bateman instead of Waddle.
That's the approach I would take. You have to choose the players you'd rather trade, but I try and get Waddle out of there because it's kind of a straight up trade, which isn't fair to either side, and backwards. So no, that's where I'm at. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. Woo. Alec, read somewhere that one average, there is only 3 players from the second round to hit. On average, there are around 3 players in the second round.
That's basically what you said. 27% is pretty close to 3 out of 12.
And then if you go positionally with the individual draft years, it's kind of, you're kind of looking. You don't know which 2. It could be the end. Like in 2017, we had several. We had quite a few wide receivers towards the end of the second round based on ADP, not in your dress, including, I think, Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp were down there. There was a bunch of like top 12 guys.
Galladay.
NFL average, or rookie draft?
Rookie draft
is the average. And wide receivers a lot more hit and miss as well.
It's still 27% in the second round?
I think that's why I said for running back and wide receiver in terms of having one top 24 season.
Okay.
But you can get stingier with it if you actually look for better definitions than the one that I put up straight off the top of my head. But yeah, it's pretty bad. It 27%, I think, is the first round overall when you're looking at a reasonable average instead of breaking it down positionally like I did. And in the second round, it drops to 13%, I think, overall picks. Yeah, something like that. Like taking quarterback out of, because that doesn't matter in the Superflex in 1 QB. Hey, Zach's Dynasty show started for this year's rookies. Yes, the Hootenanny did kick off. I think it's 2 episodes in already. Or 1.
What?
How far into it are you?
I did a primer 2 weeks ago, and the Dynasty Dummies rookie Hootenanny officially kicked off this past week. We're doing another episode tomorrow night.
And if you have not listened to the first episode of the Hootenanny, besides the fact you should absolutely listen to it because Zach, J, Mike, and Matt are very, very good at this, and it's a very entertaining show. Holy crap, Zach killed it with the opening song. I was not feeling well. I had a freaking migraine, and Zach sends me that song, and I still braved turning the volume on my phone and was able to enjoy it still, even though I felt like I needed to be buried in a cave. So like it's that good. It's that good.
It was fun. I don't know if it's good, but it was fun.
It is. It's good. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it was great. You also get to hear J. Mike Chake say he hates JSN and thinks Addison is wide receiver 1 overall. You'll have to listen to find out if I'm telling the truth. And I did enjoy that second part because I'm almost looking for an excuse, but Addison, JSN's still it. But
yeah. I want to do like a reaction, like YouTubers just watch YouTube videos and like show their reactions to it. Like I want to record myself just to show it to the three of them and how you guys literally almost make me fall out of my chair when you were talking about Quentin Johnston and and Matt was like, no, he did this against good competition. Like if you did this against like Kansas, like good for you, bro. Like and like I can't remember exactly what he said. He's like, oh yeah, good up, man. Good for you, bro. And
I'm happy for you.
I would have spit it all over the place. It was so fun. It was so good.
We should do reaction videos. I've been trying to figure out a way of doing that with fantasy football for a while. Like I used to ask the Open Bar if I could live react to their show because those are the guys I knew and they had it on YouTube. But like live reacting to a 3-hour show with 8 people probably wasn't going to be it.
That show needed an after show.
I never actually got that.
Everyone was too tired after it.
Yeah, I need that.
The standard is the standard.
Ish. So both of you would still take Burks over Watson?
Yes. I don't know if both of us would, but both of
me
would.
Well, since I'm here now, both. Yes.
Well, I wouldn't in my 2022 draft because I know I'm going to get more value out of Watson than trade him for Burks right now, and that's why I'm now higher on Burks and Watson. Because I rank value
pretty similar. No.
No, he's so high. Well, last time I checked it, he'd fallen quite a lot. Again, I ended up being like 5 spots higher than the average, so maybe. But last time we were having this conversation, Watson was like a clear tier above.
I haven't seen much Watson talk lately, so honestly, like,
how I
feel about him, I don't even really know.
JJ Zacharyson's literally like, nah, which probably literally shifts the hype market.
Your show is after dummies.
Well, he didn't just say nah. There's actually complex analysis that goes into that. He's not just saying he's bad, but I'm going to summarize.
JJ's going, nah.
He just came on and was like, nah, for like 30 minutes. It was great.
In the February DLF, and this is one quarterback, but still just sorting by wide receivers. Treylon Burks is wide receiver 24, and Christian Watson is wide receiver 28.
Yeah,
so
it feels about right.
Yeah, and again, like it's not that like you're running this out to the nth degree. We're not saying that Christian Watson is bad. We're not, but we are saying that
I would say
a lot of what he did was be really efficient with touchdowns. At least that's what I'm saying. And if you're being really efficient with touchdowns and you're doing it with the single most efficient quarterback that I have ever watched play, the potential to do that, there's a chance to regress a little bit. That's all.
I would say 2 things. One, stop letting us do that. You're letting us be higher than average while also sounding like we hate him, which actually puts in this really neat position where we can't be wrong. Like we had him ranked higher. What do you want? And the second thing is, my process is, rookies who produce more, but then it's fair to look at how they produced and try and make risk assessments of their likely expectation moving forward. You've got Treylon Burks, who literally didn't play enough. If you want to look at the game, if you want to include the games Christian Watson did well in, the ones where the production came from, if you use any threshold from those games to look at Treylon Burks' season, he didn't play more. I think he played one season. If you look at one game, if you look at games where they played over 60% of snaps. So you're hitting yourself where you're trying to help yourself, if you know what I mean. Either Burks didn't play enough, so you can't assess it, or in a similar sample where you look at both their usages when they're available and healthy, they had similar rates of opportunity, and Burks didn't suffer from the high target, and I think it is suffering from high targets per route run, and and high efficiency in the touchdown column, which means, yeah, I think that's more sustainable if that is the truth. Now, Burke's sample is so low that it is less likely to be the truth. But again, when we were talking about it, it was also coming at a lower value with a good rookie profile in a season where he essentially didn't play enough, but did get over 20% of the targets when healthy. So, yeah, I'm still in the same place.
And like, again, I had Christian Watson in my top 9 pre-combine last year. So I'm not going to apologize for it. Like, I feel like that's a pretty good hit in terms of like actually talking Christian Watson and being pro Christian Watson back in February. So it's not a Christian Watson bad. Treylon Burks amazing. I still think the Treylon Burks profile and how he wins and how he won last year is better.
Yeah, and also, no, it's a serious caution where I still try to play the market more than anything else. You're putting yourself in a situation where a good season is a disappointment. Like, because you're saying we should be higher on him. Like, if he has a great season next year, you'll be like, shit, it was below what I thought. I paid more than I should have, even though he had a good season. And that's just an awkward situation. Like, it's a suboptimal, should we say, dynasty situation to be in. Everyone's paying their DLF league fees, by the way, Russ. I'm noticing, and I just noticed, I'm like, I don't have my avatar on my league safe. And I decided to try and fix that while we're talking. So I'm just updating you on why I'm not looking at you.
Yeah, I saw you commenting in the DM thread while you're talking.
I can do two things.
I cannot do that at the same time.
Neither can Peter.
What?
Peter goes into just like autopilot while he's talking so he can type and do other stuff.
I'm listening. 16-team Superflex PPR, half-point PPR. PPR, but 0.5 tight end premium. Start 11. Brees for the 103 and 111.
I want the 103 and 111.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you like Gibbs that much?
It's a quarterback.
Like Brees.
No, it's a quarterback in a 16-team Superflex, Peter.
Why don't I think before I speak? Good point.
Like, honestly, here's the thing with the 16-team Superflex. Like, especially, like, we're at the point in 12-team Superflex where we're saying if Levis and Richardson get drafted early enough, they might jump up to 4 or 5 or...
Richardson should. Levis should not.
Whether he should or shouldn't, he might.
He should not.
Like in a 16-team Superflex, if they get drafted early, they will be up there in a 16-team Superflex league. So if we're talking Brees, I would take him over Levis regardless of the of the format. But if Richardson gets that early draft capital and from a team that, I know it doesn't mean anything like right away, but if they come out and say he's going to be our starter, then I would want Richardson above Brees for sure, but definitely for sure over Brees over Levis. So that's still putting Bijan in the top few, like 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So like I'm starting Brees at the 105 in a 16-team Superflex.
Yeah, I kind of want this trade, even though that's a quarterback. And it's mostly, honestly, Zach, not that you said exactly this, but cautioning that there might be more top 12s and top 5 potential from those top 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. I'm like, it's still probably the quarterback. But I want Brees Hall, and if this is the price, it's not terrible.
The 16-team Superflex is tough on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me with quarterbacks in this draft is watching what Indianapolis does, because the former offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, who just took a running quarterback who people were down on his offensive prowess to the Super Bowl, now in Indianapolis as the head coach. It'll be interesting to see whether that's the way they go, is try to get a rushing quarterback and kind of implement that offense, or if they, again, this is just hypothetical, but I'll be interested to see what they do.
I read in like 1 or 2 places, and at this point it was a few weeks ago, so especially draft life changes day to day, that Indianapolis was big on Levis.
If they draft Levis, I will be out. But if they draft Richardson, I will be in.
Yeah, out on Levis regardless, I think.
Yeah.
But that's what I read, and who knows, that could just be smoke for smoke's sake. But I read it, and it's something to talk about. So I don't think this trade is terrible. I would not do it in a 16-team league.
No, I'd rather have the quarterback. If it's Stroud or Young, I'd rather have that plus the 111.
Or things can get weird, and you can just go get Bijan at the 103.
That would be wild,
right? Like, and imagine doing this for Brees, and then Bijan is there at the 3. Like, you'd feel a little silly on that one. It shouldn't happen. But
my avatar.
Weirder things have happened, dude. You're on a live show right now, Peter.
They don't care. No one knows. No one even knows.
Someone left because
who's gonna tell him
about my furnace?
What is Kirk Cousins still worth? First, mid first, probably.
Yeah, he's worth a 24 first. In 23 picks, you're getting pretty late. You're probably 8-9 ish at best.
I mean, I'd give up the 8 for him.
Yeah,
I would.
Like, you're at that Levis area, and then you're gonna have people that there's different kinds of people. There's people like Zach who have value there and know the players they want, the players they think are good, the players that are worth taking. You have players like John Bosch who doesn't care about a player whatsoever. This is their value. This is where they belong. And then you have insane people like me where it's like, but I really like this wide receiver, so I'm just going to take him over the quarterback who's going to score a ton more points for the next 4 years because he's throwing to Justin Jefferson and now TJ Hawkinson. So like if Quentin Johnson fell, and I would probably take him over Kirk Cousins, but it's not the right answer. It means that's what I do. But yeah, 23 picks, we're talking late first, 24. I think a random first still should get him, but he's good. Like Kirk Cousins, like it's the running joke that he is the, QB1. You don't have to pay QB1 prices for, but I think everyone's in on the joke at this point where you're not getting him for nothing at this point. Like you got to pay pretty much what you should for him, and it's worth it still.
I mean,
what you pay for.
He basically paced Trevor Lawrence this year. Like, and we're praising Trevor Lawrence for having an amazing year and struggling at Kirk Cousins, but they were basically the same quarterback.
Situationally praising Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying, and it's the same thing. Also, we're gonna love the shiny new toy over the guy we're bored with already. Much goes into that, but you're right. Also, yes, yeah, you're right.
And Kirk Cousins is almost single-handedly responsible for breaking the quarterback pay structure with his $35 million guaranteed.
Good, like whoever. I assume he has representation because that man deserves a raise because how did he do that?
I just want to get another Peter. You like that?
Not happening.
I was so happy when you sent that video. Yeah.
Chris S. 12-team Superflex. Send Carr Claypool 23-209. 24 second. That's a lot. 25 second.
Yes. Whatever.
Yes.
23-101. Start with that, by the way. The guy at the 101 would not likely accept this, but he's going through a rebuild. Thoughts?
That is
I don't think he will accept that.
You know what?
Just kind of sending a bag of stuff.
How angry he gets. Because sorry, man, that's really bad. Like really bad.
That looks like a trade calculator trade, like where you just put in.
How much of the bottom of my roster stuff can I put in there so it adds up to the 101?
Yeah, if you have Chris, first round picks, I think you started off in the wrong place. You've easily got to add your first and probably your next first, and then add a player like maybe Claypool, maybe the second. But you got to start off strong, man. If you don't have a first round pick, you got to look on your roster and see who's elite, because there has to be something someone goes, okay, that's the reason to trade the 101. In my experience, I guess our opinion, that's what a one-on-one trader is going to be looking for. Now, try and send him something risky he might be too higher on. Because, you want to avoid risk and get Bijan Robinson, which has a little risk in it anyway. But you're probably going to have to send something a lot more certain, unless he's like really high on Burks or Watson or one of these wide receivers we haven't quite seen it from yet.
Chris, to put this in perspective, we don't have Superflex ADP yet this month from DLF, but we do have the one quarterback. And in a one quarterback dynasty startup, with the mocks, it goes Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Bijan Robinson.
I am in one of the Superflex mocks. So again, we're small sample size small sample sizing because it's one. Russ Fisher at the 111 took Bijan Robinson.
And the only reason Bijan Robinson is as low as 5 is because in one draft he went 16th. He went
I took him at
3rd, 3rd, 16th, 3rd, 5th.
Like, this is literally, and it's funny. It fell exactly to me in my situation where I said I would take Bijan. You get to the top, like 6 quarterbacks are gone. Even like when you get to that. Lawrence and Fields were both gone, and then Chase and Jefferson were gone. And I'm like, what? Am I going to take Dak? Am I going to take Tua? No. All right. Do I take AJ Brown? Do I take CeeDee Lamb? I could, or I can just grab Waddle on the way around and feel great about it. And then, of course, Lamb and AJ Brown went on the turn, and I'm like, screw it, I'm just taking Dak. So, like. And I didn't do, and then I grabbed T. Higgins in the 3rd, so everything's fine. But like this, I believe, again, I did it just because I thought it would be interesting, and I wanted to see what I could do if I took Bijan in the 1st. And I do love what I've put together, but I do think this is close to what reality is going to be. You will be in leagues where people take those wide receivers over Bijan. Maybe Deshaun Watson goes, but he's going to be a top 20 player probably in a very, very large percentage of drafts. And you offered not that.
Man, almost enough time for a guy to change his league profile. I don't know. Ryan Harvey, what wide receivers would you prioritize targeting in half-point PPR if you wanted to move off the 102? Jalen Waddle seems to be trading for remarkably less value than he should. Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe CeeDee Lamb, but I find his value is a little lower than that in trade, so you might want to ask for a plus.
So we're talking.
If we're talking plus, AJ Brown's definitely in that tier, and then you've got like maybe take a swing on your favorite guy.
You're talking the wrong 102. Oh, like because this doesn't say super flex, so I'm assuming it's one quarterback.
Well, if it's one quarterback, just take the wide receiver.
Right. So we're talking. Wouldn't you rather just take
draft JSN? Yeah.
I mean, if it's one quarterback, if it's super flex, then I think Peter's absolutely right. If it is,
yes.
Like you're basically looking at a 2 level quarterback.
So CJ Stroud was taken at the 212. Players around him at the 2 to go up for a wide receiver. Garrett Wilson was 207. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Travis Kelce, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, CJ Stroud, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Bryce Young, Tyreek, Saquon, Ken Walker.
Who are the quarterbacks that are going? What did Stroud go as far as like what number quarterback?
Hold on, let me sort.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on.
No. I wish it gave you the thing down the side of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah. So right around that. I mean, like to Trey Lance, like that area.
Lance actually went pretty late. Lance made it to the 4th and 13, 14, 15, QB 16. Tua and Kyler were taken like right before Stroud and Young, and then Daniel Jones went at the 308. Wow. I mean, I like Daniel Jones, but that's liking Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins, Trey Lance, Jared Goff, and that's through the end of the 4th round of the startup.
Neat. Andrew, have the 112 and a 1 QB, thank you, PPR league. Are we thinking I'm going to like that spot, or should we be trying? I like the way you keep asking different questions that essentially mean who should I draft, but cool. Who should I be trying to add on to get a 24 first? I would try and trade it straight up. And if you can't, I would keep waiting because this rookie hype is going to amp up. Someone's going to want to draft, and all players going to fall there. And you get a 24 first, and that's a solid pay return. But I wouldn't be looking to add. Like the pick this year is meant to be worth more than the pick next year. Even if it is a 112, and that's why you keep waiting. Eventually, someone's going to put a name on it, and they're going to be like, "Oh, I can get that for just a first next year." They make those every year. I get free first every year.
See, that's the reason moving from the 112 to a 24 first is brilliant is because there's a very large percentage chance that won't be the 112. So it won't be the worst pick. But time is money. A year matters. So pushing it off to a first, you probably should be getting a mid to late second in this draft, or just take a first and second next year for it. But if it came down to it, I'd probably just do the swap. I don't think I would let that hold me back, but I would want more than that.
Would you like to comment on our Kyler Murray trade, by the way, because it ended up coming up before you got here?
What, mine and yours?
Yeah.
Russ, do you want your side of it?
2 and 2 seconds. Zach felt it was pretty low. He was like, "Oh, that guy."
I said I'd rather have a first than the 2 seconds, but I don't mind getting the 2 seconds if I have to.
Trades for me are rare enough. I want to celebrate them. So talk about how stupid I am for taking.
No, honestly, I sent that trade. Very, very rarely will I send trades for the purpose of them just being accepted. Is that sounds wrong? Shit. But
normally I'm just trying to bug you with an email, but
I sent this and I'm like, yeah, he should probably take this because I think this is kind of a good deal for him. It's the 102, the 202, and the 24 second for Kyler.
I like giving up that high second as well, but it wasn't an extra first, so it felt fair.
That's really honestly part of me wanted to find something besides the 202 to try and get, but I'm like,
so I look forward to drafting. Now I don't get to, but
I figure he has Lockett that he's still trying to give to me anyway. He has a couple of players that do score points, and honestly, I am still looking to score points. I just had enough quarterbacks that losing Kyler isn't the worst, and I'm probably gonna end up trading away the 102, but I feel like it'd be easier to trade the 102 than trading Kyler. So, and I knew he was rebuilding and wanted quarterbacks, so Kyler is perfect for him. Because we know
a league full of experts, no one will give me, and for 2 straight years now, because my team was ass last year, no one will give me a second for Tyler Lockett. And you're like, you
did for the 201. I'm not giving you the 201.
Well, you didn't have another one.
If I had the 206, I probably would.
I've asked for every second in that league multiple times. I'm like, he's known you. There's just points on my bench. I don't like it.
I'm gonna go try and trade for the 205, 206, just so I could trade it to you for Tyler Lockett.
Because they won't trade with me. Because I'm an asshole. Which is true. Does B-Rob have any value? Yes, actually, I think it's a running back 2 on that offense, or running back 1 now.
Well, it can't be a bad thing for him, right?
I think he should. I think you'd find it very hard to get a second for him. Yeah. I think that's where you should hold his value, though, like a mid to high second.
Oh, and that's the question he bolted on because I was taking too long to him get to it, so he's not going to hear the answer anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I would do. Gavin, on field. Nice. I brought Brees for the 104 and Gino in 1 QB about 2 weeks ago. I am happy. I think that's really solid.
That is a great trade.
Hear it. Who are you targeting at the 110, 201? Take a few shots or trade up. I always try and trade up in a rookie draft, and if I can't, and I can't get a really good trade out, then I'll take my shots. Yeah, that's in general my rookie approach. And it's dependent on what my league mates want or willing to do, like not trade for Tyler Lockett. Or I'll go trade for Tyler Lockett. Yeah, maybe I'll trade for points. Who knows? It's very up to the league situation at that point. But in general, I want to trade up. I want to trade out.
There's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of players in this area that will be.
It's a good
flag planting players.
Well, for me, it's like Booty, Roshan Johnson, Charbonnet,
A-Chain.
Yeah, well, that A-Chain's probably a little further down than that. Zay Flowers, maybe Michael Mayer,
Sean Taylor. No, that's the Tucker. Taylor was the D-back.
Tucker's a little further down than that.
Yeah, no, I know, but there's the hype about him. So like, but like, I think there's a lot of players you're gonna find around there that are gonna be like, this is that tier where anyone can go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you might be able to sell your pick pretty easy, so someone could go and get their guy. Or
just be careful not to draft that running back who elevated because of the draft or whatever. That late round running back in the first round that was buzz.
We'll find someone to push up there like we do every single year.
Yeah.
It's the worst idea to draft that person, and the people too. But hey, James Cook looked great for like a game and a half at the end of the season.
Hey, I hear that his role is going to expand this year, Russ.
It's always every role is going to expand. Always, only expansion. We're an ever increasing league. And JoJo.
My favorite is the Cowboys. Kellen Moore was fine, but he wanted to pass too much. We need to establish the run. And the Cowboys last year were 27th in pass rate over expected. There were only 5 teams that were running the ball more than the Cowboys, but they need to run the ball more.
Damn right. Establish it. Establish it. Hi, Peter. Hi, Zach. Sup, chat? Hey, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
JB, 1 QB start, 8 PPR. Jameson Williams plus a 106 or Devontae Smith and the 202. I think I'll take Devontae Smith.
I just love Devonta Smith, and I'm just going to side with him. That's a
in a one quarterback. In a one quarterback, yeah,
it's a bit of it's a bigger drop than I want, but I think it'll be worth it.
In a one quarterback, I don't think the 106 is what you think it is. You know what I mean? No, keep going.
Yeah, you're not getting like 5 is.
You're not getting Madison.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Give me Devonta. Like if it was the 105, I'd be like, but no. Yeah, the 6 is kind of that.
You're hoping Booty does like
something,
figures things out.
Stickman 87, not the 86th Stickman in the wild, the 87th. 10 team Superflex start 9 half-point PPR. I have the 101 QBs on Lamar, Kyler, and Carr. That's the one. Barkley and Swift are his running backs. Also have Pitts, AJ Brown, Cup, Diggs, Godwin. Would you take Bijan or try to sell the 101? Yes. I would try to sell the 101, but I'm probably drafting Bijan Robinson because I won a lot.
I don't even think I think I'm just going to draft him. Unless somebody like Sweetheart overpays.
I mean, I always remember J. Mike Check's Barkley trade. Like, if I can get like 9 first round, yeah, sure. Yeah. But mostly, yeah, probably.
Like at some point, we need to start reminding people that the reason the 101 is worth so much is because you want Bijan on your team,
right?
So unless you are getting that deal where it's just like, how the hell do I say no to that? You should have Bijan on your good team. Like,
just write him in.
If you did not earn the 101 and you have it, chances are you want Bijan there.
Yeah. Bull the Knicks fan. Hey, I'm in an 18 Superflex start 10. Should I value QBs like I would in a 12-team 1 QB league?
No.
18 Superflex start.
Oh, 12-team 1 QB. Not at all. It doesn't matter. Every team can have more than 3 quarterbacks, so there's no demand. Right. So
the good ones are still the good quarterback.
Value them is the way Zach values them. Go get the top 4, 5, or just whatever.
Yeah, I think it's. I was trying to think of a way of equating this. It's like tight end in tight end premium. It more makes those top quarterbacks essentially more important, more than it elevates the lower ones. It like happens in more of a 12-team league. Like those top 5, top 3, however you may have that you think are difference making or value difference making, are just infinitely more valuable.
It's a magnifying glass on whatever they are.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It just magnifies. So like if they're good, it magnifies them being good. If they're not good, it magnifies their terribleness. So you want to just take that magnifying glass way in on AJ McCarron and go, XFL, baby.
Peter, that's me. Is the Osprey run used for when comparing a team's wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, especially if one is a rookie? I haven't looked at that specifically. I think the Osprey run is a particularly good stat for what it does, but it does seem to be more situational dependent. And as I was recently talking to with someone, because I can't keep dropping his name because it sounds... No, I was talking to JJ Zachariason on my podcast. He pointed out that the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 are likely running similar routes per game because they're the wide receiver 1 and 2 wide receiver sets are fairly common in the NFL.
Right.
And so I would say that's actually fairly good comparison if you're doing 1-to-1. In terms of a rookie, it's all about sample size. So you have to debate or argue or come to a fair comparison. So you're comparing apples to apples. In the case of Christian Watson, you start to look at games where he was healthy or whatnot, or really part of the offense because he worked his way in, but you have to apply the same filter to the other sample you're filtering to. And so can you compare them to players who only had games where they were healthy or were playing over 20%, 60% of snaps, or however you define that to get the Christian Watson sample? But as long as you're comparing apples to apples, I think yards per route run is fair, but it's that part of the comparison that I'd be most interested in, unless the results differ from my thoughts, because I am right and the results are wrong in that case. Hi, Russ. From Joe. Recovering Ridley Truth. I heard the hootenanny spelling. That looks good to me. And I would know.
Yeah, there's an E, but
there's an E. That's close enough. Zach, looking forward to the combine hype. Let's not go down the spelling. We can't do a spelling live stream. Seriously. Who are some vets?
Country of origin, please.
Sorry.
Can you use it in a sentence?
No, I cannot.
Time for a hootenanny.
This sure is a hootenanny. Some vets you guys think are undervaluing. Undervalued vets. Got anyone that jumps off the page outside
Calvin
of Marcus
Ridley.
Brown, Calvin Ridley? I think Cooper Kupp.
The late first, multiple sec. Ridley Truther definitely paid for Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I don't think you're seconds. Yes, I don't think I want to spend a late first. Who's like, if we're talking running backs, like it seems like you can get almost any running back over the age of 26.
Yeah, you can get them
for less than what you should. Like Nick Chubb, you could probably get for a very late first at this point, which is silly.
That's a good one, Russ.
Yeah, and he's going to be good. Honestly, we saw some Saquon trades today. We were talking about free agents on the DLF trade show, and Saquon is not holding his value. So go get Saquon. Josh Jacobs is the same. I mean, if we're talking wide receivers, like it's a really tough area for wide receivers because of the draft, I think. But
this is an awesome list.
Do you think?
I like my ranks.
Do you think you could go get Kittle for somewhere around that?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Because that is a move I would do because, again, I think that's positional advantage.
Yeah.
I do think Kittle is a positional advantage over 89% of tight ends.
Did you literally just do math in your head to figure
No, I just dropped from 90 to 89 being funny.
Just making sure that you didn't all right, 12 teams and this. I was about to say, you've been an engineer for too long. You better start writing again.
Wide receivers who I'm significantly higher on than the average of DLF ranks, which is kind of my go-to for looking who players I may be too high on, maybe too low on, or everyone else is wrong. Make a decision. Over the age of 26, Mike Evans, Dallas Goedert. It's a really interesting one if you're looking for a tight end. Tyler Lockett, which kind of explains a lot about this stream. Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
George Kittle, Mark Andrews, but that's like a one positional difference, but it's so significant because they're both so
He's
high
bad.
drafted.
Don't bother.
It is significant. Travis Kelce, there's a vet you should definitely consider if that's what you're looking for.
Everybody
advantage.
should send bad trades for Travis Kelce right now.
Really should. I've considered just sending out terrible trades and all, whether I need them or not. Like, let's go. Lower down the list, so I'm fairly close to average, but I think their names fit. Debo Samuel, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk. Like, no one likes and no one's ever liked Christian Kirk. I don't even like Christian Kirk, and I'm still relatively equal to the average.
Whoa.
Then Juju Smith-Schuster. No one except Russ, asterisk.
Love Christian Kirk. Michael Pittman.
For that.
It'll be tough to get as bad of QB play as they got out of Matt Ryan. And we've seen, even with Carson Wentz, Michael Pittman did do really well. And I think people are just going to be soured on Pittman.
Levis. Sorry. Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't say it was impossible. Debo is, I don't remember if you listed his name. Cooper Kupp. There's a lot of wide receivers. Jerry Jeudy, that's risky. Maybe at that point you might want to just draft a wide receiver at that. But I think Jerry Jeudy is still young enough that if Russell Wilson does get better with Sean Payton being there and everything, and it is for the benefit of Jerry Jeudy, his value can go up a bit to the point where you'd at least benefit from spending that late first on him, and it might cost more later on.
There are 5 running backs, because you mentioned like running backs. There are only 5 running backs I'm anywhere significantly higher than the average of DLF ranks right now in last month's Superflex ADP. Isaiah Pacheco, for some reason, like I don't even like him that much, but like I've got him as a top 35 running back, and that's high apparently according to last month's ADP. Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, interestingly for that guy who mentioned him earlier, like I don't mind him as a top 27-ish running back. Rashad White. That's it. That's the entire list. That's the only running back I like.
I understand why you're higher.
Normally, it's just trash when you're the only one. When you like him, you like it's mostly Isaiah Pacheco lists. But right now, like the list I just read off of over 26-year-olds, the most difference and running back list is like there's actually really significant potential players. So, weird. P.S. Let me know if Russ, you need a quote on your system. I'll hook you up with a Dynasty discount.
He's a HVAC guy.
Gavin, weird question. Roughly, where do you value Pitts in the wide receiver market? In the sense of what wide receiver is valued slightly higher and slightly lower than Pitts? I should look at that.
Man, you have to go higher than you want the answer to be. That's the unfortunate part, because with most people, his value hasn't really fallen at all. Like, wide receiver.
Yeah, has actually dropped like 36 spots.
So, like wide receivers, I'm down to. I want Devonta Smith over Pitts, and that might just be my personal bias. But I want Smith. Drake London is probably where you're going to call it even, which is ironic because they're teammates. But then you get to like Cooper Kupp, Devontae, like you hit a bit of an age bump here, and I think Pitts is over all of them. And then Zach, Pitts or JSN?
Probably JSN for me. But again,
no, that's
like
you're in the tier. Yeah.
I don't. So it depends on what you're asking me. If you're asking me
to ask in the context of this question, taking away the positional advantage of Pitts being a tight end, because that's not what.
Right. Yeah, no. So I'd rather, again, you haven't seen Pitts do anything. Like he was.
I saw him have a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, that's fine.
2 of them.
How many wide receivers had a 1,000-yard season last year, Peter? No, we're talking in the context of wide receiver.
No, but like, if you saw Pitts's rookie year out of a wide receiver,
it'd be with like Olave and Wilson, because that's about what they did.
So you'd be higher on him if he were a wide receiver and did what he did?
What do you mean? Are they going higher than
Olave and Wilson are wide receiver 7 and 8?
Wow. Okay.
And that's where Pitts is probably actually valued.
I guess. Yeah.
Not where he should be. And honestly, it really is just because his value started higher.
Well, it's because everybody expected him to come out and be Travis Kelce for the next 15 years, and he wasn't. So now
Travis Kelce was. But he's not Travis Kelce, to be clear. So I should just trade for Travis Kelce. But
and that's what
I'm telling you. This is infallible. Travis Kelce was not Travis Kelce until after a foot injury in the NFL.
Knee.
Yeah. And the recovery, obviously, but yeah.
All right, knee. Sorry. Pitts now hurt his knee.
History repeating itself.
That's it. He's there.
I'm not going to let you.
Imagine if he breaks his back, and he will be a combination of Kelce and Gronk. Yeah,
and then like Tom Brady turns up and like I'll be the quarterback of the Falcons.
Oh wait, what did Jimmy?
Patella tendon. I'm very familiar with that one. I had that same thing. I didn't make the recovery that Jimmy Graham did, but
most humans do not.
And to answer the question directly, according to my ranks, which change every time I look at them, by the way, but right now it goes Drake London, if I just sort by tight ends and wide receivers. Well, let's do the first few above it. Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. And then it goes Devontae Smith, Treylon Burks, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans. Which is why Cooper Kupp tends to be the guy anywhere near there. I'm like, oh, that guy, that guy's not valued at all compared to the rest. And Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews are right below Pitts. I just skipped their names to do the list. But that we're naming the same range essentially.
You were so close to following ADP-ish with that list, and then you hit Mike Evans, who came in at wide receiver 40 in ADP. So.
I do have
which is stupid, don't get me wrong, but it was just really funny. I'm like, oh wow, Peter's actually pretty. Nope, there it is.
There's the Pierre.
There's the Peter we know.
The old IT trick: turn it off and restart. When my card doesn't work, I get out, close the door, and go back in, just in case. Never works.
I never thought like. If my car doesn't, yes, I turn it off and try and start it again. I never thought to actually get out and get back in. Like
that's actually beautiful. I would pay money to see you do that. Like if I just see a guy doing that one day, I'll be like, I got you. That would make my day. How you doing there, Zach? Starting to wear down?
I'm all right now, but pretty soon I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm getting tired too. Also, Peter, do you have any additional notes on your interview with JJ Zachariason? Just talk about the yards per team discussion you had with him. I haven't had a chance to re-break out. Like, I haven't re-listened to it. Only notes on the episode, JJ's honestly as nice as he comes across. Like, genuinely,
really
that's him. Really nice guy. And I know, I only say that because I always wonder when I hear a famous person, or relatively famous, he was talking to me, let's face it, on a podcast, like, can you meet your heroes? You can meet JJ. You will not be disappointed. Genuinely lovely person.
It has absolutely been my experience in the fantasy space that, like, so many times you meet these people and you're like, this is fantastic. Yeah. Like, you're exactly the way you present yourself. It's awesome. And JJ makes me think of Popeye's chicken, Russ. But
Popeye's chicken is the shiznit. That's kind of what I think of.
As for that part of the discussion itself, I literally just let him talk, and then when he was finished, I was like, I'll think about that later because it was too much too quick. I think it was really interesting. He was thinking about the denominator, like the fact that team attempts is going to be the same for everyone, obviously, because that's team attempts. And the denominator will be similar for wide receiver 1s and 2s. I thought that was a really interesting and not a way I thought about framing it for myself before. But JJ's smart. That makes sense.
And Peter, that's what got me thinking about. I know I asked you the question about like the yards per route run and targets per route run, and if somebody does something with like adding those together, like baseball does with on base percentage and slugging percentage, because it gives you the like Anyway, I'm sure somebody has.
It's not something. I mean, I do think I've come to similar thoughts, but not as directly or as cleanly as he came to. In the sense that
he's brilliant.
I mean, like he was talking about with his second year modeling, then he likes that it devalues players who weren't on the field as much for like rookies and stuff, because that's true. Like if you're not, like if you compare worse when you look at the overall team attempts, it's going to do more for a young player because it's telling you whether he's getting on the field or not.
Right.
And volume is the key. And so I come to similar places. I'm not sure how they add up yet, but he just goes straight to it, you know, and it's really interesting to listen to. And that's what I was doing. Like, there's literally a part I cut out of the episode. There's just a few, because mostly I just wanted to let him talk. But there's one, like, sorry, I forgot to come up with any questions. I was literally just listening to a podcast at that point. He's like, gee, thanks. I was like, no, sorry. Next topic. We went on from there, because it was interesting to hear him talk.
To point out how nice of a guy JJ really is, my now co-host, Rocky, started the Dynasty Junkies, and I think at the time they had put out maybe 2 episodes, and Rocky has no shame whatsoever, just DMs JJ or emails him and asks him to come on. Yeah, he went on. He was like the 4th, 5th episode. JJ Zachariason was their guest.
Thanks for devaluing my opportunity to speak to him. But yeah, that is true. If he can accept a request to go on any podcast, he go on it.
Was like genuine. Visibly grateful for the opportunity to be on someone else's show. And they're sitting there geeking out because they're talking to freaking JJ Zachariason, and he's just like, oh man, cool, you guys wanted to talk to me. And it's just like, no, you're the important one, and what is this? And yeah, he's awesome.
It was a pleasure, and you know how much I hate admitting that.
Yes.
Like I want to hate everything, and no, it was wonderful. He said Bryce and Young.
That was probably me. I do that a lot.
Well, either way, it should have been Young and Stroud or Bryce and CJ. We'll get there.
I do that a lot.
As a guy who tweets as I do, I can't comment when someone speaks. Russ killed it. I think he was saying you did a good job. That's the way I read it. I have Pickett and Zay Jones, and I can get a lot more for Pickett.
You can, but that's artificial value created by Superflex.
I mean, value matters, but yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the point. Like, if you want something that gives you that, you can get Zay Jones.
Absolute fairness, all Dynasty, at least right now, all Dynasty value is just made up. You know, it's just perceived value. But you're absolutely right that if there were...
It's supply, like artificial supply and demand. It's like when OPEC decides that they're going to reduce production by 10 million barrels, and all of a sudden gas goes up over $4 a gallon. It's all artificial. Like adding an extra quarterback creates artificial demand for bad quarterbacks. So.
Yeah, like we need to be able to understand that you can win with only starting one quarterback, and once that happens, you will see the real devaluation of bad quarterbacks.
So what we need is OPEC to go to one quarterback, and then we'll be fine.
No, but I still like Superflex. So we need them to actually care about the consumer and not No, sorry, my bad. No, forgot what country we're in.
With QBs, we're at a spot where scarcity after like QB 16, I think it's actually a lot higher than that. And top 4 or 5 guys are so much more valuable than anyone else. It detracts from the others at the bottom of the barrel in value. I would say raise that to QB 5, and we're on the exact same page. But yeah, especially the top 4 or 5. Okay, yeah, all right, you did it in advance. I got you.
Thank you for some advice.
Thanks, Joe. Sean. He's looking for some advice. 12-team Superflex, Hurts, Dak, Pitts, CD, Olave, London. It's a good team. DK. He likes Christian Kirk. There you go. Claypool. Joking. Kind of trashy running back. Similar to all my leagues. Only pick until 2026 is a 23-209. Should I tear down? No, I think your team's good enough and young enough. You're actually fine. but I would be shopping when players like Kirk and Claypool show up on my roster because you made good value bets for the season or whatnot.
First of all,
there were some micro markets you could have taken advantage of there to try and supplement some of your loss in picks, but you still have plenty of value and points on your roster. That's the key, not how many picks and players you have. But if you have value and points, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, wait, I misunderstood. So that just means he traded away all of his 25 picks. I at first read that as they traded away their 26 as well. No, like, who cares about running back right now? In general, like, your position doesn't matter.
Well,
but when you get to the season, you figure it out, but not at the price of the baller team you have. Like, if you want someone in this draft, like if you think that's the right move, like Peter said before, adding to the 209 one of those lower wide receivers, or honestly, throw 3 of these lower players together and go get one guy who's like 2 tiers above. Like, you don't have to do any of this now. That's the beautiful part of it. Like, you can wait 6 months and then figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Do you think you could trade either Kirk or Claypool for multiple seconds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if
Kirk, yes, Claypool, no.
So if you could do that, if I could take Christian Kirk and say, okay, I'm going to get the 205 and the 208. Now all of a sudden you got 3 shots at running backs in the second round, and there you go. Like,
again, or if you find that guy at the very end of the first, you trade all 3 seconds and try and move up. Like, you have, even it feels like you don't have options, but you have so many.
Yeah.
And all of them include not worrying about it right now.
Yep.
Every single one of your players, until you get to the Kirk place, is worth multiple first-round picks. You have all the picks. Think about it that way.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose that. Like, that is such a great core for a team.
Yeah, you got a 1-1. And what you want to do, trade them away to go trade for them again? You could.
Yeah, like, you don't want to not
try and tear up where you think you can. If you think CD is less than Waddle, or you think CD, you could tear those guys up into Jefferson or Chase. But I mean, you're good. I can see John Hogue's comment on the way, and it's already making me smile.
And like, Gibson wasn't as bad as you thought.
Perfect.
To put it out there, like, rolling in. If you only have, okay, so this is also very lineup specific. If you only have to start 1 running back, I would absolutely be fine rolling with this team and starting Antonio Gibson. Like, I would be very good with that. If you have to start 2, then you need to be a little worried when the time comes. That's not
now. John Hogue, I'm not going to read it. Moving on. How'd you take the fun out of listening to 3 of my favorite people? Well, 2 of my favorites. Plus Russ, sorry, he said plus Pete, obviously, and get them talking about QB values. Yeah, we hate to keep schooling you, but we will keep doing it. Hey, John, love you. Sean, I traded Burrow, the 103, the 106, the 108, and Cousins. Burrow for the 103, the 106, the 108, and Cousins.
That's actually a pretty good haul.
I'd rather have Burrow, but you definitely got the right value for it. So,
like,
I don't mind giving Burrow up for that. Honestly,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
it's like on top. Like, honestly, take the 106 and 108, go move up to, like, the 104, the 102, and like, I like it even more. But like, you will get a couple of starters out of this. Like, it sucks to lose Joe Burrow. No matter what you get for Joe Burrow, it sucks to lose Joe Burrow. But you got a lot of value for it.
Yeah, it's Dynasty, baby. You never actually had him. Remember, we don't actually have these players or anything to do with them. We're just playing the game. Sean, I think you're getting. Think you're a great Russ. Thank you. We do too.
Sean's got
Frank,
a handle on
12 team, 1 QB, start 8, 1.5 tight end premium, 6 point passing, has Jefferson, Chase, CD, AJ Brown, T, London, ETN, Ingram, 104, 108. Draft targets, trade targets.
Oh man, like,
draft targets are literally just the best players.
You are starting 8 players, and you have Jefferson, Chase, CD Lamb, AJ Brown, T Higgins, Drake London, and ETN. And you need to start a quarterback and a tight end, which means go get the best quarterback and tight end and just go keep winning.
Yeah.
Like use the
I was going
104
to
and
say
the
you
108.
need to go get Kelsey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go get Kelsey. Or like if you
I was
just
also
want to
going to
do
say
trading, go get
ETN
Pitts,
plus the
whatever.
108. Can you
and
get?
do whatever makes you happy. But like you have the ammo to not lose good players and still walk away with the good players, very, 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 very good players in the positions you need.
You know
Like,
what?
like notice like they didn't even tell
Take
us
ETN,
their
take the
quarterback.
108, try and get Bijan Robinson 101.
In a one quarterback
Or
league,
focus the quarterback.
go after the quarterbacks. Go after one of those top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, because I think that's the easiest way to gain a positional advantage in a one quarterback league, because quarterbacks are inherently undervalued, even the top ones.
And like go after Hurts, because it's weird to me that he's not in that tier yet.
Russ, he was a
Yeah.
second round pick.
Look, they lost the Super Bowl and have the draft capital to replace him. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yep.
They lost the Super Bowl that they got to.
They did not win the Super Bowl, and they have multiple firsts.
That's terrible.
all
What
I'm
a
saying.
terrible team situation to be in.
So, like, if you can probably get Hurts at what seems like a major discount, because you will get him much cheaper than Allen or Mahomes, and the offense isn't going to be bad now. So, like, I don't think you need, like, it's not something you need to worry about. So, like, yeah, go get Hurts, go get Kelsey, and then literally just keep winning.
Gavin, is leaning on startup value a good way to trade? No. In general, I think, especially the way you mean it,
it's one of the tools that, like, I use it to simplify things. Age plays a lot of more. Weirdly enough to say, I think age plays a bigger value in drafts than it does in trades. But also, you can't really use startups you can't use a specific startup because, well, this guy got drafted in the second round. Yeah, but I didn't draft him and I wouldn't have drafted him there. All of a sudden, your entire argument is dead. But like when I'm talking about a trade for like Bijan and I say, well, Bijan's at the 111 and these two guys are drafted in these 2 spots, it's just a way of simplifying. It's the only way for me to put a visual in someone's head about how it's sort of valued. But when you want to get into the intricacy of what trade value really comes down to, a specific startup has zero to do with it. ADP helps a little bit, but really you can't actually use it for real meaning.
Yeah, that's what it's a starting point, because like each individual league is its own microcosm, its own environment, its own ecosystem, and so trade values are different. But by using like the 3,000 foot view with ADP and start, like, ADP is by and large startup ADP. I mean, that's kind of what we do. By using that, you can get a gauge of where things are being valued by the broad, the community, capital C. And then you can use that to kind of finagle things in your own specific league. If you keep track of the players in your league and their tendencies, it's easier to do that.
Yeah, and then also you have players like me who I will always admit I'm not really good at drafting. Like, I draft for value's sake because I know I won't be able to draft a good team. I don't know what it is. I feel like I do great in a draft, and then I look at my team the next day and I'm like, was I drunk? What happened? What? Like, it's like me waking up every morning and making sure my wife is still as wonderful and good looking as she was the day before. Like, and thankfully 15-ish years strong. Yes, still is. But
save it.
Yep. She's asleep, but just in case. There's too much, especially if you're talking about your startup. Like, if you had the startup and then you want to try and craft trades from that, you can't, because there's so much that goes into it. Oh, well, I only drafted this way because I was trying this out and it didn't work. And all of a sudden, again, your argument is just dead. We're talking way too long on this. You can't really use startup value for trades.
Yeah, it's better than your startup ADP because it actually evolves. That's why we run regular mock drafts. And I'd say it's not the best. It's probably the worst, but it's better than all the alternatives right now. So, my preference at least. I mean, it's what we think most people would draft them for right now. It gives you an insight, but it's all sucks.
It's a way to get general value. Yeah.
Where were we?
Did we really have 3?
Bijan or CD? I would take Bijan Robinson, but that's right.
That is King Solomon, though.
Pittman or JSN? JSN for me, but
JSN.
Yeah.
The right value.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really like Pittman, but the answer is still JSN.
Yeah. It was a riot.
Riot.
Daniel Jones or Richardson? Richardson? Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to say Daniel Jones, even though it's the wrong answer.
It depends on where Richard. Like, we don't know yet. Like,
yeah.
That's the cool thing about this is the NFL draft is going to tell us probably before you have to make that decision.
Yes. But see, like, the thing is, like, if we're going to say, well, to the best of my knowledge right now, Anthony Richardson, right? Like, I always get this guy's name. I feel like I get it wrong, even though I get it right, because it seems too easy. Like, Anthony Richardson it's not Levis, it's not CJ Stroud, it's Anthony Richardson. Like, that guy lives down the street from me. Anthony Richardson will be drafted around like the 109. I'm not sending the 109 for Daniel Jones, but when I stop and I think about it, I would just rather have Daniel Jones.
If Richardson goes in the top 15, he's going higher than the 109.
Yeah, that's yes, 100% he will. Yes, but it's like
and if he doesn't go in the top 15, I don't like. He shouldn't be a first round pick. He said tentatively.
But like, are you? I love doing this, but Lamar
was the first round. Yeah, I mean, again, but Lamar. I don't know. People didn't want to draft Lamar.
Stupid small outlier of
But I also think like
he was a better prospect than either. So
yeah, the difference between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson is pretty stark in terms of passing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's
like everyone says, like, oh, you can't get a good quarterback outside of if a quarterback is drafted after the first round, then there's a good chance he's terrible. Tom Brady did it. You just say that. I love saying the dumbest shit ever because it's like, short quarterbacks. Russell Wilson did it. Third round quarterbacks. Russell Wilson. What are you talking about? Of course you could get. Third round quarterbacks are good.
Somewhere I'll find my sheet of quarterbacks that were like outside of the top 15, and it's like 9%. Yeah,
exactly, and that's why I love like taking the stupidest outliers of answers and be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing with Joe Mixon right now? Nothing. I am roster him this year, but I probably would have traded him unless I was in the final. And if I was in the final, I still roster Joe Mixon. I'm still trying to trade him. He's probably got more points and value from this point
I have rejected every single offer that has come to me trying to give me Joe Mixon. And usually it's because it involves a first, and I'm just not doing that at this point.
Mixon and Kamara are the two that
you probably end up trading for later down the line when I need running back,
which is fine. But I'd rather do it when I know
Kamara. You probably have to do it after game
when
7.
you need them. They will be there.
I took over a team in a Superflex half PPR best ball dynasty, and what am I going to do when I take over a new team? I did an outhouse challenge, and someone sent Rashad Bateman for Alvin Kamara, and I was thrilled to get Rashad Bateman in that deal. Like, I was sending Kamara for seconds and getting rejected, and I'm like, all right, I want people to send me offers, so I'm just going to do the challenge. And thank you, Andrew Hall, for sending me Rashad Bateman for Alvin Kamara. I'm very grateful.
Damn right. 14 teams, start 7, half-point PPR.
7?
I have the 101, the 103. I have an offer of Godwin, the 113, and possibly a top 324 first for my 103. Too low.
No, because you are going to give them someone very good with the 103 that their team probably won't be a top 3 next year. Like, you really have to take that into account. How much time is in between now and then that they could do something and change the value of their team?
Yeah, and outside of that, you're kind of getting
with start 7. I don't want to downgrade
113 and a start 7.
Like I don't. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much you. I mean, I don't know how much you necessarily change the top, like the high pick. And again, it's way too early to know that that's a top pick next year. But I don't know that necessarily giving them a rookie quarterback changes all that much.
Oh, they never said Superflex.
Oh, okay. So if it's
So I'm guessing they're assuming in a 14 team that
the JSN is the
will be
guy
3
there.
because he's saying I'm very high in JSN. So I'm thinking he's thinking Bijan and Gibbs, and then he can get. In that case, yes, I 1000% hold on to that 103 because to be able to get JSN would make me very, very happy. And I do really, really like Chris Godwin, but at this point, it's a different team's pick. The other team is awful. It's one QB. I still say I stick with the 103 because I think you can get a better deal than this.
I'm the guy letting someone get out on Godwin, even though his value's fallen. We like him where his value's at.
Godwin's very good, and I don't care who his quarterback's going to be. Is that?
Yeah.
But like in a start 7, do you want to start Chris Godwin? Probably not.
Joe Herbert.
You do.
Indian food or Thai food? Indian food, hands down. Anyone else who says anything different is wrong, unless you're from Thailand. You're allowed to like your own stuff, okay?
In a couple of things below, I will agree with what they say. I think top tier Thai food can outweigh.
Oh yeah, it's great food. I love Thai food,
but on the level, like if you're going for mid-tier Thai food is very bleh, but no Indian food is bleh. Like there is flavor galore in every freaking Indian food. But
I just want food.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm not going to be sad about either of it.
Damian Pierce or Rashawn Johnson?
I want Rashawn Johnson,
but
right. I mean, again, that's right now. I mean, if there's a chance that Rashawn Johnson doesn't go in, the first 3 rounds, and then all of a sudden you're not as interested in him.
Simpler question: a late first for Damian Pierce would be a great trade.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish I could get him.
This basic is what I'm doing better than basic Thai.
Me too, Joe.
I like when Peter is rolling his cigarettes. Thank you very much on stream. And chatting. It's the things that I do. And top tier Thai food greater than top tier Indian. I disagree. I can't say I've had either, but I'm going with what I know, and I like Indian food a little better. And that also probably exaggerated because it's harder to get Indian food where I live, whereas still a couple of Chinese places, so it might have that rarity bias here. But
like Chinese food, like American Chinese food and Thai food is wildly different too.
Probably.
No, it's just no probably.
There is a Thai place in one of the next towns over. I've eaten there. And
just one of my favorite things is
there isn't an Indian.
I used to work near a very good Thai food place, and I would go to lunch with a girl who was Dominican and used to very spicy food. And we went to get Thai food, and you could order however spicy you want. And she goes, very spicy. And the woman just goes, literally said the words, white people spicy. And she was like, no. This is not white people. Because she's Dominican. And it was just so funny that she's just like, right away, she's just like, okay, this is like white people food. I get it. And then she's like, no, I want the real stuff.
I want to fight with my food.
You had to see the tears coming out of her face. It was amazing. She enjoyed it, she says, but it looks painful. Like, to eat that spicy food, it's just like, this is so good.
Crab ragoon or egg roll? Egg roll, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
both.
We disagree again.
There's so much crab rangoon.
Burks wasn't dealing with injuries.
He was. Yes, he was. Absolutely,
That's why he missed so much time. And I mean, or he was on vacation, in which case that counts as missing time as well.
I was sad that Westbrook Akine didn't do as well as I wanted him to do, though. Like, I thought he was going to be a really good wide receiver, like 3-ish.
Which of these players would you give up for a 23 or 24 first? Ramondre, Jameson Williams, Pickett, Evans, James Cook, or Pacheco?
A 23 first, I'm probably only giving up, and it would have to be late for JMO. A 24 first, I would probably give up for Ramondre, JMO. Superflex League, I would give up a 24 first for Pickett. I wouldn't feel great about it, but I would do it. Evans, I just don't think you have to, but I want his production is worth it. No for James Cook. And again, Pacheco, I would. I don't know if the rest of the world's value has him there, but I would give up a 24 first for Pacheco.
I don't think it is, so I wouldn't. I should be getting.
The question is, do you have to?
I would trade a late, if it's my first in a non-super flex, a late first for either of the first two. Everyone else is a no for me. Did you want to look?
No, me?
Yeah. No?
He doesn't care.
Okay. I heard Carolina is all in on Richardson. That's cool. Carolina's always made good decisions. And Tanner had a high QB rating.
The last time they were good was with Cam Newton, so they're going to try and recreate with Cam Newton, not realizing that that's nothing like Cam Newton.
Tannehill had a higher QBR passer rating and only 6 yards per game than Rodgers. Yeah, Tannehill is definitely better than Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, yeah, of course, because Aaron Rodgers threw twice as many touchdowns last year on, yeah.
Here's the thing again, dude. You want to count things for Watson that you won't count for Burks. I'm saying use the same definition for their season to count the games that you want to count. If you apply that to Burks, he didn't play enough. But you want that to matter for Watson. But Burks, or let's use all the games that don't pass that test to say that he only missed 2. It's just not even. And I'm not even making a player argument about their quarterback quality or even their quality of play. If you want to look at their volume in games where they had similar levels of opportunity, the Bucks didn't play enough, but he equally equals him, didn't suffer from efficiency, and actually, has a more solid profile. Or he did terribly and he didn't play enough games. There's risk in that profile too, based on his rookie year. But he's also lower valued. The other things don't wait for me. Unpopular opinion, but I'm almost at the point where I think I'm going to zig while everyone else is zagging. I'm always trying to do that on Levis. Again, if everyone else is zigging, then you zag, right? The amount of hate on Levis makes me think he will actually be good now. If he's drafted in the first round, right now his value will be too low. Yeah,
we say this, but Levis will be drafted in the first half.
Oh, he'll be a top 8
rookie
pick.
Drafts.
Yeah.
No matter what hate we put on him, it's still going to happen. And if I have the 106 or whatever, I would probably grab him if he fell, even if there are other players I'd like, because it's the right move. And that's the point of rookie drafts. And
I remember rookie drafts like that, watching that quarterback fall and I'm going to draft him if he gets here. And that's exactly the right move. I don't want to, but if he falls down here, I'm taking him.
Because the ability to raise his value is easier for quarterbacks than almost anyone else. Running backs have it very easy. Wide receivers, not so much. But that's why you would want to grab Levis anyway, because he'll be able to raise his value. But it's also and I know that, like I said, I love pointing out stupid outliers of the situation, but not even stupid outliers of it. We let Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, so many highly drafted quarterbacks drop to the second round of rookie drafts just to be shown we shouldn't let highly drafted quarterbacks drop to the second round of rookie drafts. And yes, maybe we should have let Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold fall, but you shouldn't that. Yes, the right answer is you are absolutely correct. It is not an unpopular opinion. If you this is almost sound bad. Liking him is the unpopular opinion, but if you don't like him and you draft him anyway, that's not the unpopular move. It's kind of the smart move. But I feel it's funny. Every once in a while, it's that's a human being. Stop talking so much shit about Will Levis that you don't even know the man. But it's everything we do is dehumanizing when it comes to fantasy football. So just like roll with it, I guess, right? But just to go back, it's not an unpopular opinion. It's the right opinion. Though I guess what is right isn't always popular. What's popular isn't always right. Thank you, Shakespeare. I learned that because it was on the wall in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Gentlemen, I got to shut it down. But I will catch you, the chat, all next week. Good night.
All right, buddy.
Sleep well, my prince.
We're going to speed it up and go to bed, my dude. Yeah, again, we keep just switching between one conversation and another. And at this point, I feel like maybe if he hears it one more time, he'll realize that he's... I'm trying to come from a place of what I say right now about Watson is going to be true no matter what happens next year. I'm not, and again, as a guy who has him ranked higher above average and very highly valued in my ranks, I feel like I'm defending liking him by trying to argue for why he has warts on his profile. But in this particular stat that comes up, how many wide receiver 1 weeks he had, that doesn't defend his usage. Like it doesn't. Like if you go look at that usage, but if you count wide receiver 1 weeks, it turned out not to be true. It's just a highly specific situation. There aren't that many that you can compare it to, and it doesn't defend it. What I'm saying about him is true now. That's the frustrating part that you're getting at, because it'll be true if he's Justin Jefferson next year, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I had a wild fucking comparison to on Twitter. And it's still what I'm telling you about his profile and the history of it, how it worked out. It's still going to be true. It's just a risk factor. It's not. And so he is bad. I don't have simple conclusions, or I do have a simple conclusion, but not a definitive conclusion. That way.
I'm stuck on this one. 4 wide receiver 1 weeks is historically surefire indicator of future production.
It's not.
Not at all. Like, let's also not forget that it wasn't until like 2014 was like the wide receiver revolution.
Yeah.
And even then,
Mike Evans didn't do that much. I don't think he had 4. I doubt very much Devontae Adams or Stefon Diggs or a whole host of players since then have.
And like we're forgetting that we used to wait for a 3rd-year breakout.
Again, this is a hit rate conundrum. You find a group that looks good that fits your player, and then say this therefore determines that, but it has no causative. When you test it, it has no causative effect in that it doesn't seem to predict that. It sounds good, and it definitely sounds good after the fact if he's great next year, but it didn't predict it. It's like BMI. It's like 40 times. It's not that it doesnn't matter. I'm just telling you it has no predictive power. Andrew, I mean, literally according to the math, as far as I understand it, I could be doing the math wrong. In which case, I'd love to see the better math.
I said math is more of an art than a science, so it's
some of that. Andrew Cook, I just went from the 104 to the 102 and got Garrett Wilson. Nice. And the 109. You traded out 2 spots and got Garrett Wilson. That is lit, but he does have a below 25 BMI, so he's probably going to suck. No, this is a great trade. In fact, it's so great that you should probably not have gotten that. I'm worried about your league mate. He's got like a 3rd added to Wilson.
If it's anything like what Peter just read, you destroyed this.
Yeah, 104 to the 102, which I assume means he traded down. Oh no, he added. Unless you added Garrett Wilson.
No, because got. Okay, so Garrett Wilson has nothing to do with it. We don't know what they paid to get from the 104 to the 102, but now we know they have the 102 and Garrett Wilson and already have Jefferson, Chase, Olave, and Godwin. And I love our watcher/listeners wide receiver course. Like you all make me very happy.
Order 66, 12 teams Superflex PPR inbox. Give the 101, 106. Get Jefferson. 101, 106. Jefferson. Yes. Just if you can trade for Jefferson, probably get Jefferson.
Yeah. You're never going to be sad.
It's high, but I'd do it. Jojo, okay, we should be fading rookie wide receivers who failed to put out adequate numbers no matter what, injuries or not. No, I think it's value dependent. If it's Tyler Boyd and he had a pretty decent but not extraordinary rookie season, he drops by 10 rounds, you just go trade for Tyler Boyd, and I did. Christian Watson's value is falling right now, which might mean he's a wide receiver to target. But if he was trading, when I put out where I didn't like his value, he was not that far behind Olave and Wilson. And the argument was his per game rates mean that he should be in that tier. And if he's now fallen in your league or in ADP, then the argument is irrelevant. because the warts are being accounted for by his value. And he did have a solid season. If Watson is the one we're talking about anymore. I think if Jameis Williams has a freebie year, I think that's fine. Just consider him a rookie, use his rookie profile, because, again, there are a few examples of just missing time or missing entire first years and then players doing well. A couple of years ago, we didn't have those, and this argument was still made, so it was slightly less likely. But we've seen Michael Pittman really struggle in his first year, mainly because of injury, and then come back. Could make an argument for Mike Williams as well. Which because you listened to the podcast with JJ, and I think he went over that a little bit. And I think that's literally what he said. Just treat it as his rookie year. And I think that's a fine way to approach it. I wasn't as high on Jameson Williams as I think Zach was, based on the way he's talking now. I can't remember what he said at the time. But I thought he was a really solid prospect outside of the group of wide receivers now all love, because all of them hit, except Sky Moore, but we didn't make that mistake. But yeah, I think he's worth a 106 and non-Superflex drafts for sure. 105 maybe even, because he was that level of prospect last year. I'd have to go look at his profile to come up with an exact thing. Russ, am I off on the value there too much?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Recovering Ridley Truther. The second and fourth round wide receivers are so expensive. Good to tear down and get a plus. The points per game between Waddle and DK to DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a big drop. Sorry, it is. Godwin is in the first tier. I don't know why DJ Moore has dropped in here. It's pretty close. Yeah, but Waddle's in the tier with like.
I think he's saying
Waddle's drafted
going
around
from Waddle or. Well, no. Waddle is a tier above DK for a lot of people. For you and okay. But he is. So yes, if you can get a first for that tier, Waddle, which I don't think you will, is the right move. I need more than a first to go down to DJ Moore or Chris Godwin. Yeah. But also the reason we are valuing someone like Waddle above someone like DJ Moore or Godwin, or sometimes even DK, is because of a consistency factor, and because of a situation factor, and because of it, there is reasons they are valued more, and it's not just points per game. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But if you are taking a step back, you are in season, yeah, absolutely. If you can get DK in a first for Waddle, you should do it. It's the right move. But it's not like now. It's not always the right move, but it's the good move for value. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as you're saying. It's super situational between players. Like there's very good reasons why we have the tiers we have.
Probably. Combine season, baby. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Guys, is Mac Jones worth any first? In a super flex, he's worth a late first, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or future first. He's worth a 24 first as well. I consider those a similar value. Or sell for a mid. I wouldn't sell him for mid. Nope. In a 10-team super flex league, no. In a regular 10-team league, 1 QB, yes. Managers are low on Mac. They are actually. I've got him on one team.
Like if we're talking 10-team super flex and you get offered the 201. I mean, that's
if you're gonna pick it on Mac Jones, you should take Mac Jones. That's all I'm saying.
Like, what would you do with Mac Jones? The thing is, wait, because people are very low on Mac Jones this season because A, he got hurt. B, he had a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator as his offensive coordinator. I'm not going to say Bill O'Brien's going to come in and all of a sudden Mac Jones is going to be a top 10 quarterback. He's not.
He's not. But he's going to be solid.
He's
what everyone hopes Kenny Pickett can be. You know?
He will look better, and the Patriots will win, and that will raise Mac Jones's value.
Thank you.
Or your league just will hate him, and there's nothing you can do about it, and he's stuck on your team.
Thank you, Marvin.
The truth.
Hey, Mr. Scampers. Gavin, you should probably want Bajon on your bad team too, right? Outside of tragedy, yeah, his value is secure, I think, outside of tragedy or possible draft fall. So yeah, if you can't trade for that value before you make the pick, then you make the pick and you try and trade it later, because I think he definitely will be tradable.
Say that is under the assumption you aren't fixing your team in one off season. You don't want Bijan on your team next year because he's going to score a lot of points, and that's going to hurt your draft position for next season, as opposed to being able to trade Bijan to someone else. And by the time you're good, like if it takes a year and a half, you'll be able to buy Bijan a lot cheaper, than what you will get him for. So if your team is like really, really bad, you earned the 101 and you did it convincingly, one running back isn't going to change that. All it's going to do is hurt your draft position for the next rookie draft or two, in which case it's just going to make your rebuild take longer. Or if you are if you're good at this, if you're good at rebuilding and you have enough pieces besides that 101 and you think you can do it by mid-season coming up, heck yeah, take Bijan and figure it out the rest of the way. But especially in years like this, the 101 is worth so much that you are half rebuilt after trading it away.
The right trade.
Exactly. And chances are you're trading for guys that aren't going to score as much points as Bijan will, so you'll still get that better draft pick next year. So any team is better off for having Bijan on it. It's if you want your team to be better.
Currently is the correct spelling of Hootenanny, just in case you were interested.
That looks so wrong for some reason.
Kevin, what pick would you want Eckler? Want 4 Eckler? Eckler's probably untradeable if you've got him at this point, but you're trying to trade him. You're trying to get the value of 2 first-round picks. He was phenomenal last year, and he's probably going to do it something similar next year outside of injury, but he's also more likely to be injured, so you're trying to get out.
I would be shocked to see him go for a first earlier than the 110.
I was going to say, you won't get the 106, which is bare minimum,
and that's
shockingly low minimum for Eckler.
That's rough for the points he could still put up.
Yeah. Undrafted free agents. Everyone hates them. Loving the dummy so far. It's a good podcast. Really good. Zach, Peter, and Russ looking good. Appreciate that, man. Marvin, 106 Levis or Gibbs? I would take Gibbs if he's still available there, even in a Superflex, I think. But we haven't seen the draft yet, and like Russ says, if he gets that high draft capital, it's gonna be a decision. I feel like that's your scenario. I think Richardson's going to be in the top 4. Well, and again, easily could be. It's good at game theory out, but don't lock yourself into thinking you have to do one or the other right now. Because if you have some time, let it play out. But for right now, I would lean Gibbs because I'm willing to bet that he doesn't get like that top 10 capital or whatnot. Puts him in the top 20, and that's a first round pick. It's not go draft him. But again, you're looking to zig, and we've got plenty of quarterbacks wrong. But I think the upside is in the Richardson profile. Levis is meant to be like solid if he hits, if you know what I mean. And perfect response discussion in the pits question. Appreciate you. Thanks very much. Amon-Ra or CD? CD's higher, I think, in ADP. I prefer Amon-Ra straight up. I prefer Amon-Ra, but like I really like the idea of getting a plus.
Just be happy with whoever you gave me. They are like them two and AJ Brown. It's just like whatever, cool. Whatever you want to give me, I'll be happy with. Like to me, they're all very there in value and in production. To me, I think they could all be right next to each other, and I would not be surprised.
Yes, sir. Imagine if he was named Kenny Touchdown It instead of Pickett with big hands. Fair. I'm scared of Javonte's knee injury. Me too. Hopefully he recovers. 23 first is he worth? And we mentioned this earlier, like any late first, any first after the 108, I think it's like, yeah, let's go get that guy. And what veteran and pick would you target for Javonte? I wouldn't target running back. I'd specifically switch positions because I find you get better trades that way. And also there's more chances of both teams coming out good, which I like. I switched to the wide receiver list I was just talking about. The late first round wide receiver list that I'm higher on than everyone else. Cooper Kupp was on that list. Who else did I list at? Maybe Marcus Brown.
Yeah. I love actually the idea of going Najee plus. If you can get that.
I would like to get Najee. I just think it's Najee's
but way. You absolutely should be worried about Javonte and his knee injury. It came out that there's a chance he misses a couple of games, which assuming like it's from everything I could find to read, there was a lot of similarity between Javonte and Dobbins's knee injuries. Of course, no two humans are the same. I'm sure they had different doctors, and the surgeries didn't go exactly the same. Their rehabs won't be the same. But like we saw that Dobbins would have been better off to have not come back as soon as he did. And Javonte hurt himself 4 weeks into the season, which was 2 months later, because Dobbins hurt himself in the preseason. Like, so like Javonte might not be ready to come back until the end of the season, in which case Denver, who will be competing, will replace him. Like, if they walk out of this draft with Gibbs, I would not be surprised. So like I am like, and again, like, it sucks to be replaced because of injury, but it
does happen. It is the NFL. There's a strong risk there. Yeah, and you would need like the 104. It needs to be added to Javonte to get Pitts minimum.
Yeah, you'll have to add a lot, but it might not be the wrong move.
I don't Pitts. Still here, it doesn't seem that players are less eager to trade in general. That seems okay, believing in their guys. Yeah. I mean,
it actually is slow. Like, it's funny, not funny. Bob Gilchrist took over a team in Trade Addicts 9, and especially in one of my leagues, whenever there's a new manager in, it usually sparks some stuff. And then he texts and he's like, "Yeah, man, like I don't know if it's what I did with my team, but I haven't gotten any offers lately." And I'm like, "No, it's just slow right now," which is a weird time to be slow because combine time, then rookie draft time. Like usually there's a lot of shuffling going on, especially like when the rollover happens and we see those numbers. Like there was a bit of a flurry. It was nice, but there does seem to be less activity than there has been in past years. Though I think we say that every year, so I don't know.
We seem to know Bajon and JSN, but not Richardson. And again, it's just because there's more risk to that profile. It's not like I want value where it should be valued because he's a rushing quarterback with a lot of upside. Josh Allen is the only player to have gone through anything like the development that needs to happen for Richardson to get where his upside is. So,
Jalen,
which means I'm more likely to lean out of it than into it. But no, Jalen Hurts was a much better passer in college, like phenomenally better. Even Josh Allen was phenomenally better at passing in college.
Oh, no. I meant went through the progression to get to his ceiling. Like Jalen Hurts wasn't bad, but he did get better in the NFL throughout.
He did, yeah. A little bit, but it's not normally like a 20% swing. It's a 3 to 5.
See, the thing is, the 2 cases, we know what we know about Bijan and JSN. First, because they are just easier to evaluate in general, running backs and wide receivers, than quarterbacks. But also with someone who is freaking Florida quarterback, where he gets drafted matters so much more, and it's so much. Like we can say if JSN gets drafted in the first 2 rounds, we have to say if Anthony Richardson goes in these 6 picks, it will change where he goes in rookie drafts. There's so much more nuance to quarterback, and draft people, like professionals at this, have no idea what to do with Anthony Richardson. So it's very him specific that we have no idea what to do with him.
They're not horses, they're unicorns. What's that? Joe thanks Zach.
Oh, that was for him not caring about her question. I'm very thrown off by Beanie Pete.
Yeah, it's holding back my hair. You should be great. You should like it. you don't want to be attacked by this stuff.
No, like I want to actually talk to this. You are 1000% right. Contrarian for contrarian's sake is bad, but the NFL is showing us something by taking them this early. That doesn't mean that we go against the 18,000 fantasy football people who, but at some point, the risk is worth the price, is more along the lines of what I was trying to say.
It's a slider bar. In redraft, you can go a lot more risk because the upside is worth it. In Dynasty, there's extra risk until you slide it back down the other way a little bit. And you try and find the right average so that you're not giving up that upside. Someone has to trade for it, but you're also not going to get the max value of what he could potentially be, but you also securing value for your roster without tanking it if it doesn't work out. So, yeah, it's a slider bar in Dynasty.
Yeah, so like when I was saying where if Levis gets drafted, what is it like? I think the Colts have the 4. Like if Levis goes like that crazy early, that is showing that there is a 99% chance he is going to play his rookie contract out as the starter there, and they will give him every chance to do well. Now we have seen recently Zach Wilson has happened, go a couple of years back, and Josh Rosen happened. But that's why I say 99%. Like that is, we might be going in that direction where it happens more often. And honestly, the NFL should, because why should they lock themselves into a bad player because they made a mistake in a draft? They should move on, but we're not there just yet. So at a certain point, the risk of drafting a quarterback that you don't even like and that plenty of other people have said isn't good. And again, I love throwing out really bad outliers. Everyone hated Josh Allen. That was a terrible pick in the NFL. He should not be a first-round pick in rookie drafts. And people, again, just took him in the early second because it was a quarterback who was drafted early in the NFL. No other reason. No one thought he would be worth it. Again, outlier of outliers.
Yeah, it's predicted pick 5 to 7 right now. That would be you'd have to value him. You just have to. Do you think Juwan Johnson could be a legitimate starter for the Saints? I'm thinking about buying him for the 208.
Yeah,
he's not someone. I mean, he can be.
For the 208
and the 208's fine. To be honest, yeah, it's pretty. You'd probably grab a tight end in this draft class.
There are 3 tight ends that I'm finding out now that are uber athletic and might be drafted in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. I don't know their names because I have a terrible memory, but
probably also rather trade it for Trey McBride. Who's around that
really, like it depends like if you're in on Juwan Johnson, then the 208 is a great price to go get him. He's shown that he's good. Like he, with a not good offense, still did really well at times. So that is a decent price for him. But if it's just trying to get a tight end for the 208, like there might be some good rookies that if they land in the right place and get drafted early enough, maybe it's better to re-roll instead of taking someone. But that's a very individualistic thing. If you like Juwan Johnson, the 208, I got Juwan Johnson for a 25, 3rd, and 4th. Let me just put that out there. So, yeah.
Minnesota Monster. How does McBride compare to this year? McBride has a better receiving profile.
That's one of the other ones.
Physical profile fairly well. Myers much more certain of being something. McBride has a lot of bust potential after that year 1. And Kincaid I haven't dug into enough yet, but I like him on
He's
first
one of the
place.
other names I heard.
Dolchich was a really good prospect, and he did something this year, which means he matters. But again, Meyer is probably going to get draft capital that's going to blow his potential out the water, so you've got to probably rank him ahead. But he's in the conversation with Kincaid and McBride. And at least he did something this year. And a rookie, it's fairly rare for a tight end to do that much. I think all these players are actually fairly valued. I don't see anyone that's strongly overvalued. Beanie Pete got hot, so I'm never wearing a hat again. Thank you, Dave. What's good with the boys? Main, especially
I feel like it's been a while since I've seen Zuli around.
I know, right? Nice to see you. You'll need to speak on the swagger factor in this class. There is a lot of swagger in this year's class. Actually, there's a dropping amount of swagger in this year's class. It seems like no one.
Well, there's a dropping amount of not swagger in the class. There's a dropping amount of people who think the class has swagger. It's a little different. I have not dug into my swagger factor for this year. Like a lot of it will have to do with the suit they wear to the draft. So I need time.
I don't have a column for that. I apologize. But good question.
No, that is not something you can't spreadsheet swag factor. You can't.
Oh, you watch me. You at least gave reasons to a contrarian. I have so many times how players wish to zig because most are zagging. That's not a good reason. Just to do it to do it.
Funny, like JJ points out that late round quarterback was perfect for when it came out because everyone was going high. So he was going against the grain because of the value he was getting in those early rounds in wide receiver and running back, and then still getting the production out of the later guys. Like it wasn't zig for zagging's sake.
I think another way of saying that is a lot of people think they're zigging when others are zagging when no one's fucking zagging. There's way too many hype bubbles and people thinking like this player is high valued or people are undervaluing Will Levis when we don't know truly.
Yeah, like
that's where it comes into your league.
Zigging for the sake of zagging, which is not the right way to say it, but I just like saying it that way.
It is a fun way.
Yeah, is either you thinking you're smarter than everyone else or you just betting that everyone else is wrong. And those are not reasons to do things. Like, unless you know that group of people is just a bunch of idiots, which I don't think the people we listen to are a bunch of idiots. So I'm mostly. Some of
me,
them.
Maybe. Something I struggle with is being completely out on players I don't think are good, etc. I can't bring myself to. I have had a similar problem. I'm getting better on it. I'm just reassessing and notice and becoming more accepting when I'm wrong. But there are some players I'm just out on, and if you see other, it's just something you got to work on a day. Like I had to accept Terry McLaurin was someone I missed on a lot. Deontay Johnson, honestly, I was way too low on him coming in, but pretty high relative to a majority, to be honest.
I'm more likely to be out on people for personal.
Tyreek Hill. If it's personal reasons, then you're allowed to have any that you want.
Yeah, like I won't put Deshaun Watson on any of my teams. Like that is one thing I won't do, and it has nothing to do with fantasy football whatsoever. But like when it comes to players for fantasy football's sake, it helps to be in a lot of leagues because I will just find a way to get 1 or 2 shares of them just in case. I literally call them my just in case shares. But I absolutely get this, especially like with people like Zach, who's in 4 or 5 leagues. There's no reason to have players you don't like.
Yeah, if you're not playing at volume, you don't have to. I would say you need a Josh Allen moment. One of those quarterbacks who was falling to me in a Superflex draft that I was hoping didn't fall to me was Josh Allen. And he didn't. And now I have to look back and think, wow, I was honestly nervous about drafting Josh Allen. I mean, you do the best process you can, but and it's that slider bar where you adjust to I have a lot of variance in how right I am versus the market does. And just sliding it up a bit sometimes helps, but it's also learning it's better to be quicker and adjusting, especially after a rookie season, although Josh Allen went the opposite way, to be fair. Because we get a lot of signal from that. It's just trying your best to learn where the signal comes from and then make a reasonable expectation and adjusting. It's a delicate mix, and everyone has their own, and no one's wrong. We're all trying our best, I think.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like even being 50% is great.
Yeah, like the best hit at like a 51, 52, 53% rate.
I would love to be right half the time.
Javonte or for Godwin? Godwin.
I would take Godwin for that. I would be very happy to get that for Javonte.
Yeah.
We also just
thank you.
Godwin.
No problem. Sorry. Carry on.
No, that was
okay. Joe. Oh, she's talking to Joe. I get to skip that first one. It feels like I'm arrogant to be completely. I always prescribe fantasy football as a place you're allowed to be. Most of your life, you're trying to be a reasonable person, not think too much of your own opinion. But honestly, the best way of playing, I think, is to make a firm opinion based on other people's, take in all the information you can. And then it's a yes or no game. Make the draft pick, don't make the draft pick. The result is what it is. Learn from it what you can. And so there's a certain element that requires arrogance. At a certain point, you got to draw a line and say, I think this, not this. And it's a place we get to do it, where we're all trying not to be, I hope, arrogant or too arrogant or think too much of ourselves most of the time. I mean, why stress about that with fantasy football? Why?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you almost have to. Anyway, and it's fantasy football. Like, yeah, let that mean part of yourself out. Is Pert's worth a 103 in Superflex? Yes, but it's very much a.
It's tough to swallow,
but it's
yes.
Talking back to Zuli. I'm finding I find playing in a similar volume of leagues makes me more invested in players' takes. I find it more enjoyable, but I'm not an analyst trying to help others. I find it better to play in a smaller number of leagues as well, for almost the exact same reason. Like, it's too easy to talk at volume and always be able to show how you're right and wrong, and it's harder to get down to what, if you're just playing in a league or a couple of leagues, half the edges don't exist. And it's not that you can't, and the best don't play at volume and know those things too. But I find it harder with that regular practical experience of how hard it sucks to suck sometimes. Saw your comment on a video I was watching. Talking to Joe again. Sorry. Don't mean to listen in. Thank you.
Don't be a creeper, Pete.
I know, right? That's the end of it.
Look over there.
That is the direction. Please look behind you while we do absolutely nothing. Just we'll still be here. Just look behind you for a second. That's my version of what Zach said.